you don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion new single, my hater, the big better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million, the devil, that shit ain't not cheaper than again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 6th part of What If Naruto Joins Digimon World. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of KitsuneDragon on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Previously on the series, Hypnos HQ. Yamaki, there's been a sudden blackout. Luckily our emergency power generator was able to respond quickly enough so that we didn't lose our data, Riley said. Yamaki played with his cigarette lighter and nodded. Good, make sure to find the source of that blackout though. Apparently we might be one of the few buildings in Shinjuku with power right now, Yamaki said. Riley nodded and quickly began to type away on her colorful keyboard. I really should get a raise, the red-haired woman thought with a yawn. Now, the next day, the group had awoken and Nami and Mori were busy waking up the rest of the students. Kazu and Kenta were standing outside the tent that Gilman was sharing with them in Takato. Boys, is Takato awake? Nami Asagi asked. The two Digimon fanatics nodded. Hi, Ms. Asagi. He's just changing is all, Kazu said. The brown-haired female teacher nodded before moving on. Naruto and Rika walked out of their tents, having taken turns to change, with one standing outside the tent they shared as the other changed into their clothes. Okay, well it seems that this will be heading back later this evening, Naruto told his girlfriend. Rika nodded. Yeah, it has actually been a bit fun. What do you think happened to that giant chicken from yesterday though? She asked. The blonde shrugged his shoulders and yawned. Calumet, who was resting atop Naruto's head, yawned also. Don't know, don't care, he replied before walking up to the group of Henry, Terrierman, Takato, Kenta, Kazu and Jerry. Kaneshiwa, Minas and the two greeted their friends. Kaneshiwa, Naruto, Rika, the others, except Kazu, having developed a disliking for both Naruto and Rika, replied. The group began to converse with each other before Mr. Mori and Ms. Asagi got the entire group of children's attention. Alright people, listen up, Mr. Mori shouted, which was a surprise since he never took charge before. Okay, we'll be leaving to go home by 6 o'clock this evening. The buses will have arrived by then, so until then please continue to enjoy yourselves and please don't wander off so that none of you are left behind. Wouldn't that be a miracle for my life, Ms. Asagi mumbled. A less amount of students to teach, her eyes became full of bliss as she imagined a life without teaching. But apparently she couldn't get a good job in her current reality and had to suffer the art of educating. Not that it had its interesting and fun moments, but you get her point. The teachers and the other children nodded to each other before leaving to go and integrate with one another. Okay, I'm going to go and see if that chicken Diva is still around, Naruto said. Actually, it's a rooster. Rooster, chicken, it doesn't matter, it's a stupid piece of poultry. Anyways, wanna come? He asked the others, who readily agreed. Jerry, Kenta and Kazu decided to tag along to see how Digimon fought. The group trekked through the forest, Naruto, Dorumon and Gatomon holding the lead as the others followed. Remind me again why we are following him, Kazu asked Takato. Because, in a way, Naruto is our leader. He made the tough decisions that aided in our battles and helped us train. Besides, he's stronger than the rest of us. So you're saying, Naruto is your leader? Kenta asked. Takato nodded. Pretty messed up leader if you asked me, Kazu mumbled, only to have his head in extreme pain as Rika slammed her fist into his skull. Urusai, you don't say anything about Naruto-kun? Understood. Kazu whimpered on the ground and managed to say hi before steadily climbing to his feet. The group continued to walk until they heard a loud crowing sound. That must be the chicken, I mean rooster, Diva, Rika said. Well, let's go then, Takato said. The Tamers, their Digimon and the 3 regular people ran towards the sound of crowing and trees being sent to the ground before arriving in a clearing where the sky was visible to all, and they saw the Diva flying in the air as it watched another tree fall to the ground. Oi chicken, Dorumon called out. The rooster turned and glared at the Tamers below. You, the rooster crowed, his owl medium appearing again to speak for him. You shall pay for messing with the Diva of Bayhuman. Prepare to die, humans and Digimon filth who choose to follow them. Dear Kami-sama, he sounds like he wants to commit human genocide, Henry said. Maybe that's the point of them being here, to wipe us all out, Kenta said, his knees wiggling like jelly. Oh, don't worry, Kenta, we have Naruto right here. He'll protect us, he said, putting his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Don't touch me, causing the visor-wearing preteen to retract his appendage. The Tamers then had Jerry, Kenta and Kazu stand back before taking out their D-arcs. Having taken out his first, Henry was able to scan the Digimon. An image of the Digimon appeared in holographic form as well as a small amount of information. Alright guys, I got some info on him. This is Ninjamon, an ultimate level Digimon and a diva like the others. He follows the Digimon Sovereign, Bayhuman. His attacks are Positron Pulse and Baochu. Henry read. Interesting. Bayhuman sure is crazy if he picked this guy as a follower, Gatomon said as she looked at the overgrown rooster. I am not a chicken, I am a rooster. A rooster. Ninjamon screeched as his body was suddenly filled with electrical energy. He must not like the chicken who crossed the road, joke Terrierman said. Positron Pulse. A large blast of lightning shot out from the body of Ninjamon and rocketed towards the Tamers. Gatomon quickly jumped in front of the group and her claws glowed white. Lightning Paw. Her training with Naruto seemed to pay off as the white energy surrounding her paws began to intensify and formed an aura in the shape of large claws before slashing the lightning and diverting its path, causing burn mark to form on the ground below. Okay guys, let's do this, Naruto yelled, taking out Dorumon's D-arc as he pocketed Gatomon's, which he had earlier. The other Tamers nodded and they all took out the same card. Digimodify, Digivolution activate, they yelled. The card was swiped through the slit on the side of their D-arcs. The card's ability was scanned and transferred to the respective Digimon. Digivolution. Dorumon Digivolve 2, Renamon Digivolve 2, Gilman Digivolve 2, Terrierman Digivolve 2. Each of the Digimon began to glow with red light as they changed into their champion forms. Calumon's crimson triangle glowed. The spiraling eggs of data that surrounded each Digimon exploded as they revealed their Digivolved forms. Dorgrimon, Kyuubimon, Growlmon, Gargomon. The 5 champion-level Digimon stood to face off against Ninjamon, who seemed to sweat sparks of electricity. No one shall defeat me, Positron Pulse. The attack flew towards them and contacted with the ground as they all avoided them. Kyuubimon quickly spun in the air and the large dragon of blue flame flew towards the rooster Diva. Ninjamon dodged the attack before swooping down and grabbing Kyuubimon by her forelimbs and throwing her into a tree. A large amount of green bullets mixed with 3 large fireballs were fired from Gargomon and Growlmon, respectively, and nearly struck him. But the Diva twisted in midair and then released a blast of lightning that struck the two before performing a backflip in the air. And the Baochu that rested on his back suddenly floated as it was held up by arms of lightning, and struck Dorgrimon, who had tried a sneak attack from behind and sent the dragon careening through the sky. The rooster then turned and screeched, causing Gatomon, who tried to slam a Nico kick to the chin, failed as the screech diswarranted her, and then the rooster slammed the Baochu down on the feline Digimon, sending Gatomon to the ground. That hurt, dude, Gargomon whined. Well, I wasn't sent here by the Sovereign One to be nice, Ninjamon then screeched before striking out with the Baochu and was completely on the offensive. Ninjamon quickly flung the Baochu and threw it like boomerang as it twisted in the air and curved so as to try and hit all of them. However, all thought everyone managed to duck. Dorgrimon was unsuccessful and was hit across the head. Dorgrimon growled and opened his mouth. Power metal, he cried, and the steel sphere rocketed through the air, but was halted as Ninjamon was coated in an aura of electricity, freezing it due to the magnetic field produced by the lightning. Too bad, Bakok. Ninjamon flung the power metal attack back to his owner and struck the dragon, sending him through a tree, causing it to fall. The rooster Diva screeched in pain suddenly as Naruto rammed a rasengan into his back. Rasengan, Naruto cried. The cyborg chicken was sent downwards, but managed to spread his wings and catch himself before he hit the ground. However, this gave everyone the opening they had. Kyuubimon quickly spread out her 9 tails and each one became alight with a ball of ghostly blue flames. Foxtail Inferno, and the 9 fireball crashed into the body of the follower of Bayhuman. Then Growlmon appeared behind the flying Digimon and his elbow blades glowed electric blue. Dragon Slash. Growlmon yelled and struck the rooster Diva before spinning and slamming his muscular tail into the rooster's body. Growlmon followed up by punching Ninjamon in the beak and then opened his maw. Pyro Blaster. Positron Pulse. The lightning tore through the fireball and struck Growlmon, sending over 1000 volts through the large dinosaur's body. Ninjamon suddenly began to make a comeback as Kyuubimon tried to strike at him with a dragon wheel. The rooster summoned the Bao-Chu and it struck through the dragon and nailed Kyuhyubimon in the muzzle as it flew back into the arms of lightning he made to hold it and then ducked beneath a bunny pummel from Gargamon. Foolish bunny, Bao-Chu. The large weapon glowed with electricity before it struck the trigger-happy rabbit and sent Gargamon into the fallen form of Growlmon. Sinjuromon chuckled before forming a large ball of electricity in front of him. Positron Pulse. The large electric attack soared through the sky, but was suddenly countered when a large metal sphere clashed with it, causing a small explosion. Gatomon now. Dorgrimon roared. Gatomon was in the air and behind Sinjuromon, a smirk on her face. Digimodify, Saberliomon activate. Naruto yelled, swiping a card through Gatomon's D-Arc. Howling Crusher. She yelled and her claws became enveloped in a glowing orange light that struck the Diva. She then dove down after the Diva like a missile. Digimodify, Flamedramon activate. Naruto cried out as Gatomon became encased in orange flames. Fire Rocket. Gatomon cried out and shot off towards the falling Diva. However, she was halted as the Bao-Chu obscured her vision, sending her flying back. She flipped in the air and righted herself to land on her feet. Dorgrimon then appeared and slashed at Sinjuromon, causing 3 large and long claw marking to appear on the metallic chest of the poultry-like Diva. You cannot defeat me. I am invincible, Sinjuromon roared through his owl before diving down and striking Dorgrimon in the chest. But then Gargamon and Growlmon, who had recovered, tried to provide assistance. Pyro Blaster. Gargo Laser. The 2 attacks collided with Sinjuromon, sending him skidding along the air before he screeched. Positron Pulse. Oh no you don't. Foxtail Inferno. Kyuhyubimon yelled and her fireballs collided with the lightning blast before it could hurt her friends. Then Gatomon kicked Sinjuromon in the back before dropping down and rolling underneath his floating body, and then performed Lightning Paw in the form of an uppercut. Gatomon then jumped up and kicked Sinjuromon in the side of his face, and using the momentum from her kick, she managed to rotate and slam her heel against the back of Sinjuromon's head. Digimodify, Power Activate. Henry yelled. Gargamon jumped and grabbed Sinjuromon between his Gatling guns and slammed the Diva into the ground, causing a decent-sized crater before throwing him up. Naruto smirked and decided just this once to pull a rip-off on this move. Naruto appeared beneath the floating rooster Diva and smirked, poking Sinjuromon on his back. Let's see you get out of this, Naruto spoke to the follower of the Tiger of the West. Naruto quickly channeled chakra into his limbs to enhance their power and endurance as he spun, and a kick slammed into the side of the dropping duo of human and Digimon. Naruto then used momentum from the kick to rotate and crash his other leg into the stomach of Sinjuromon, earning a painful squawk from the Digimon. Naruto then punched Sinjuromon in the face before twisting again and slammed his foot into the stomach of Sinjuromon just as they were a few feet off the ground, causing Sinjuromon to slam into the ground with what would be back-breaking force. Shishi Renden, Lion's Barrage. Naruto roared as he planted the final blow and then jumped away. Sinjuromon squawked with anger as he managed to stand. This is not over yet, Sinjuromon screeched and then flapped, but due to the indent of Naruto's foot and the dents in his body, he was rather beat up looking and his feather were all ruffled up. However, the Diva was given no chance as the Digimon Tamers struck out full force. Digimodify. They all yelled and swiped the same card, Power Activate. Power coursed through the veins of the digital monsters and charged the ultimate level Digimon. Kyuhyubimon ran up and spun on her back limbs as he fire-coated tails from a not yet launched Foxtail Inferno crashed into Sinjuromon. Foxtail Inferno. The 9-tailed Kitsune Digimon cried out before she let loose the fireballs, sending the rooster careening through the air to meet a bunny pummel from Gargamon. Gargo Laser. And the multiple green bullets blasted into the damaged metallic poultry with explosive force. The Gargo Laser attack sent Sinjuromon towards Growlmon, whose elbow protrusion were glowing brightly with energy. Double Dragon Slash. And the blades of energy were slammed into Sinjuromon's back, sending the rooster upwards as a fireball trailed behind him. Pyro Blaster, and the comet-like fireball sent Sinjuromon further upwards to Gatomon, who was atop Dorgrimon. Gatomon jumped and flipped in the air several times. She then felt her speed increase as Naruto used the Speed Modify card. Gatomon smirked. With power and speed, she did an attack that only Rock Lee was capable of, except on a lower scale. She batted the chicken through the air using Nico Kick and Lightning Paw before using Lightning Paw to send Sinjuromon downwards. Digimodify, Electric Rope Activate. Gatomon suddenly held a rope of pure electric charge in her hand, which was wrapped around Sinjuromon and pulled him back up. The electricity was absorbed into his body as he reached the feline, but the electricity buildup wouldn't do any good as Gatomon slammed both her right claw and leg into Sinjuromon's stomach. Ninpu Hijutsu, Urarenge, Ninja Art Secret Technique, Hidden Lotus. She yelled and sent the Diva downwards, and a shockwave resulted as Gatomon's attack broke the sound barrier before it even made contact with the Digimon. A black blur then flew past the falling Diva. Dorgrimon rested Padamon on the ground before looking at Naruto. Digimodify, Bayhuman Kongu. Naruto swiped the card containing the power of the Sovereign of Steel. Silver energy surrounded Dorgrimon as the dragon flexed his claws. The image of a large tiger was visible to all before Dorgrimon roared and then took off with a powerful flap of his wings and slashed Syaman, who then met the ground. Dorgrimon and the other watched as the tiger-shaped aura vanished from his figure, and then Syaman suddenly began to change color. His metallic chest, in fact his whole body, became a steel silver before it began to turn reddish-brown, his body oxidizing. Rusting, the power of Bayhuman's Kongu attack, an attack which causes the Digimon's body to turn into metal before rusting and being destroyed after fully rusting over. Syaman then became fully rusted after a minute before exploding into red flakes of data. "Well, Naruto, where did you get that card?" The other 3 Tamers asked. "I got it from the Sovereigns. I was given 5 cards, each containing the power of one of the Sovereigns. The one you just saw was the power of Bayhuman, and Rika had seen the one with Azulongman. Remember that lightning attack I used on Raidramon a long time ago?" Rika nodded. The image was beautifully destructive, blue lightning in the form of a dragon falling from the heavens. Truly a power worth fearing. And if that was just a fraction of their power, the real deal must be even more destructive. Well, that's that, Takato said as the Digimon digivolved, except for Padamon, back into their rookie forms. "That was awesome." Jerry, Kenta and Kaozu cried out and began to chat up a storm. The Tamers and their Digimon chuckled. The day had gone by quickly after that. Naruto had sealed Padamon and Dorumon back into their scrolls for travel, and Gilman was put into a blank sealing scroll for Takato when Gilman was put into such situations, while Renamon snuck on top of the vehicle and used her claws to remain stationary as the bus began to move. Terrierman and Kowloon kept up their disguises as stuffed toys. When the students arrived back at school, their parents had arrived waiting for them and took them home. "Well, Takato, Henry, I'll see you guys later then," Naruto said with a wave. The other 2 male Tamers nodded and then left. Takato had managed to have Naruto seal Gilman into a blank scroll he always carried with him and was going back to the park to let him out. Naruto had given Takato had then pumped chakra into the scroll before Takato left, so that all Takato had to do was open the scroll when he reached the park. Rika was about to walk over to Seiko, Makino having left to go on a fashion shoot in France. But the young redhead paused as she saw Naruto raising his eyebrow playfully. "Now I knew I forgot something," Rika said with a giggle as she walked up to Naruto. Naruto chuckled and bent down as the 2 kissed each other goodbye. Rika then decided to spice things up and added a bit of tongue to the kiss, which Naruto gladly complied to. The 2 remained kissing for a good half a minute before parting. Naruto's eyes were a bit hazy. "I'm in love with Rika-chan," Naruto whispered as he waved goodbye to his Rika-chan as she walked away with Seiko. Rika waved back and winked at her boyfriend before turning back. Naruto then disappeared using Shunshin. "You really love that boy, don't you, Rika-chan?" Seiko asked as they walked towards the house. Rika thought for a while. She was young and didn't really understand the concept of love yet, but she knew she had strong feelings for Naruto. But the things Naruto could make her do: laugh, blush, smile, and get that fuzzy feeling in her body. Rika knew it and Seiko knew it too. Rika Nonaka loved Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. In the digital world, dark prison of Syaman. Syaman watched as Naruto used Shunshin to go back to his apartment before causing the orb he used to spy on the blonde Jinchuriki to go dark, not wishing to see anymore. Syaman cursed. "Phew, so this is taking too long. Naruto needs to get back into the digital world, but how?" "How?" Syaman thought. The angel Digimon thought for a while before an evil smile broke out on his face. The digital hazard symbol seemed to pulse on his right hand as his plan came into action. The Devis are being sent out, which means one thing: Syaman wants the catalyst, and if the catalyst is returned to the digital world, with the bond it has made with Naruto and the others, they will no doubt come to rescue him. I'd better influence Syaman to send out these 2 Diva Syamans. Marking glowed violet, and the golden cuffs around his ankles and wrists glowed with a golden light. South section of the digital world lair of Syaman. The large phoenix cursed as he felt the presence of another Diva being vanquished. "The chaos is returning. I need that catalyst. But those Tamers, those human scum and their Digimon filth, they are getting in the way," Syaman grumbled. Fire surrounded him to emphasize his feelings of anger and frustration. Then a voice was heard in his head. Having a little trouble, are we, Syaman-sama?" The voice, unknown to the sovereign, "It is Syaman," asked. It's you, that voice that told me about the chaos rising and to retrieve the catalyst. What do you want?" The Phoenix of the South asked. Listen, the reason you have failed is because the Tamers and their Digimon are too powerful as a team, therefore you will need a large amount of offensive power to combat them. While also you need someone with speed and stealth to retrieve the catalyst, Syaman said. Do you have any two devas in mind? Syaman asked. Oh yes, Syaman-sama. However, the timing must be right if you are to succeed. Do what you wish until that time. But I suggest you send out Vagran for the offensive power due to his sheer size and his strength, and Makuramon for the stealth and speed to retrieve the catalyst you disguised as a Digimon, Syaman said. I see, this plan is very good. However, when is the time to send those two out? Syaman asked. In at least the time frame of 1 month passes in the real world. Until then send out whatever devas you wish, Syaman advised. Syaman nodded his large fiery colored head, his feathers rustling so that it looked like they were actual burning flames. I will do this, as you have not shown any reason to have failed me. It is the devas, they are too weak. So I will need to send out some stronger ones. Before you leave, my advisor, who are you? Syaman chuckled as Syaman's question. I am someone who will aid in your quest to destroy the chaos, Syaman said as he severed his connection with Syaman. And in doing so, I shall rule over the digital world and destroy all who oppose me, including you, my young phoenix. Naruto will come to the digital world. I will be freed and I will rule all, biwahaha. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 6. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KitsuneDragon on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. It had been at least 1 week since the episode with Andramon on the camping trip, and the Tamers were getting used to a normal lifestyle without fighting the few Digimon that came through the barrier between the real world and the digital world. Juggernaut X was actually doing a pretty good job so far, so Yamaki was also taking a slight break, while Riley and Tally slaved over the Juggernaut X program. Naruto and Rika were walking down the road hand in hand. Their Digimon were taking the day off, slightly since they were following the two along the rooftops. Hey look, it's Rika Nanaka, the Digimon Queen. Some random guy yelled out. Immediately her fanboys came rushing over to her, but were stopped to a halt as Naruto stepped in front of her, his arms crossed in front of his chest. Sapphire eyes filled with malice, his extra long and sharp canines bared. Mind telling me what you guys are trying to do with my girlfriend? Naruto growled, his eyes flashing red for a second. The boys backed away, a few being brave enough to stand up to the blonde. Oi, what the hell are you talking about? Rika wouldn't date a loser like you, a guy yelled. A tick mark appeared on Rika's forehead before she walked up and yanked the boy down by the collar to meet her eyes. Listen here, punk, you insult Naruto-kun again and I'll have what makes you a man severed when you're asleep. The girl released a bit of killing intent. After all, having a shinobi for a boyfriend had its perks, killing intent use being one of the many advantages. The boy backed away and ran away screaming with tears in eyes. Naruto smirked and kissed the red head on her cheek, earning gasps and glares from her fanboys. Arigato, Rika-chan. No problem. Whiskers, she said, using the affectionate nickname she used when she needed to get rid of the stalkers in front of her. Naruto then released full blast of killing intent, causing many to faint and wet their pants, leaving stains on the groin area of their pants. Others ran away terrified, and Naruto and Rika walked along the road, stepping on the fanboys in the process, whistling a happy tune. They should be a force to be reckoned with, Dorumon said as he walked with Padamon and Ninjamon along the rooftops. That's for sure. I mean, did you see those guys' faces? They probably shit their pants, Padamon added. As much as I like Rika now being open with me, this happy-go-lucky attitude she has ... it feels so alien to me, Ninjamon said. Don't worry, Ninjamon. The two partners of the blonde tamer spoke as they leaped across another roof. Rika is still the same egotistical maniac we all know and love, just with a major attitude adjustment. Ninjamon chuckled at the two shorter Digimon and nodded. It's for the best. I wonder how things would have turned out if we hadn't met Naruto, Ninjamon thought. As the couple and their trailing Digimon continued to travel, a small rookie Digimon was thinking over some things as he sat in a tree branch. All those stupid tamers and their stupid partners, making me feel something good, Impmon thought as he snapped his fingers, staring at the red flames that appeared and disappeared with each snap. Humans, they are nothing but trouble, just like my tamers were. Flashback. Two small children were glaring at each other as a teddy bear stood between them, along with a young scarf-wearing Digimon with purple skin and a pale white face. Green eyes flashed between both humans as the Digimon looked back and forth between his tamers. The first was a girl. Due to her height, she was obviously older than the boy. She wore a white shirt underneath a pink dress, her brown hair tied into two pigtails, and two brown eyes filled with annoyance towards the boy were present as well. The boy was shorter and therefore younger than his older sister. He wore a white shirt underneath blue overalls, annoyance present in his brown eyes as well towards the girl. "Hey, why did you take my toy?" the girl cried out to the boy. "Because you always take mine. Besides, Aka-chan said I could." "Well, I say you can't." Both children glared at each other before turning towards the Digimon in between them. "Well, you're just a big fat head. Impmon, tell her." The boy cried. "Manny, you're just a stupid gaki. Impmon, get him." The girl yelled, pointing at her brother. Impmon, his eyes filled with confusion and fear as he faced a dilemma on what side to choose, clouded his young mind. The two then grabbed Impmon's arms, the boy on his left and the girl on his right. They began to pull hard. Impmon's eyes lined with tears as his arms felt as if they were going to be ripped out of their sockets. "Impmon." The boy pulled harder. "Impmon." The girl pulled to try and bring Impmon over to her side. Impmon grunted in pain before screaming. End flashback. Impmon shivered in his tree branch, his arms wrapped around his body as he curled his body into a small little ball. The feeling of his arms being pulled, it felt as if his sensory nerves were on fire. His arms shifting ever so slightly so as to remind himself they were still there. "Those two gakis ruined my life. I can never trust humans, only using Digimon for their own selfish gains." But Impmon's mind showed him a picture of the Tamers and their Digimon laughing as he swam with them in the river. The smirk of happiness that formed on his face. "Those Tamers ... they don't seem to act like they want to hurt their Digimon. Especially that blonde one. He fights alongside his partners and they respect each other. Those smiles, they seem so genuine." Impmon shook his head. "No, I cannot trust them. I forged my own path. I can't go back to them. Not ever." Impmon growled before standing up and leaving his tree in a show of speed that he had never shown. A few leaves fluttering to the ground being the only evidence that something was up in the branches. Shinjuku Park. The group of Tamers were standing there glaring at each other in silence as they pondered their next move. Outside, Kenta, Kazu and Jerry were watching them. "Look at them, talking about some serious Diva stuff while we stay on the sidelines," Kazu muttered. "Kazu, it's not nice to talk about them like that. Takato-kun and the others are doing whatever they can to protect people that could get hurt if wild Digimon appear. I just wish I had my own Digimon too though," Jerry said with a downcast look. "Same here." Kenta and Kazu sighed as they agreed with Jerry on the not having a partner part. It was then that they heard footsteps and looked to see Naruto walking outside the shed and looking up at the sky before he spoke. "The Devis haven't been sighted lately, but remember to keep your guard up," Naruto said. "Hi, but..." Takato stopped. "What is it, Takato?" Henry asked. "Yeah, buddy, spit it out," Terrorman said. "What if the next Diva is too strong for us to handle? What if..." He froze as Naruto walked up to him. The older Tamer placed his hand on Takato's shoulder and gave him a foxy grin. "Takato, I understand your fears. I once felt them myself." Naruto paused as his fellow Tamers stared at him. The fearless blonde shinobi had once felt fear. But in order to become fearless, one must know their fears, conquer them, and then you will be able to take them on. However, some fears cannot just simply be overcome, such as fear of loss or death. Takato looked confused at his mentor. "I still don't understand. What I'm trying to say is, it's alright to be afraid. It's part of what makes us who we are, and if the next Diva is stronger for us to handle than I, along with your Digimon and mine, we will lay down our lives if it means protecting yours." Henry's and Rika-chan's Naruto spoke, seriousness and determination evident in those sapphire orbs. "Naruto-kun." Rika looked as Naruto glanced at her. "Rika-chan, I will do what I must if it means I can assure your safety. If anything happened to you or any of the others, I wouldn't be able to have a peace of mind." Naruto walked over to the red-haired Tamer and smiled down at her. "I protect my friends and those I hold precious to me. That is my nindo ... my ninja way. And I don't go back on my word." Everyone's eyes widened, even the Digimons at Naruto's words. Naruto then glanced at Dorumon and Gatomon. "Let's go, you two, we have a job to do," Naruto said, walking straight past them as he left the shed. Gatomon climbed atop the blonde's head and Dorumon jumping onto his shoulder, using Gatomon as a balancing support. Kazu, Kenta and Jerry then watched as Naruto walked away from the shed. The other Tamers and their Digimon watching the blondes retreating back before the three vanished in blur of speed, a swirl of leaves being the only thing left behind. "Do you think he really meant that?" Henry asked. "Rika, does he?" Takato turned to the blonde's girlfriend. Rika sighed and wiped the tears that threatened to fall from her eyes, knowing that stubborn whiskers ... he means every word Rika said. Renamon picked up Rika and vanished as a blur as Takato left Gilman in the shed and Henry and Terrierman taking off after the goggle-wearing Tamer. "Whoa, things must be really bad if they acted like that," Kenta spoke, adjusting his glasses. "I think we better leave," the timid girl said before getting up to go home, her puppet hand barking along the way. Kazu and Kenta looked at each other and shrugged before following the puppet-wearing girl. Digital World Southern Quadrant Yukuyamon's lair. The large phoenix of a Digimon sat in front of his throne of flames. His 4 golden eyes burned like the fires within his body as he stared down the Digimon in front of him. Now, do you understand your mission, my loyal servant? Yukuyamon asked. Of course, O Sovereign One. The Digimon bowed before the Sovereign, said. The fiery-colored bird nodded before stretching out his wing as if pointing at something, namely outside his lair. Excellent. Now remember, as one of my devas, I do not accept failure, as failure results in your deletion. The diva before the Sovereign nodded as Yukuyamon continued. Retrieve the catalyst. But first take out those pesky human rats and their Digimon if they decide to interfere, Yukuyamon said. The diva nodded. I live to serve thee, O great Sovereign of Flames. The diva bowed. Then the diva disappeared through a blue portal of data before it closed. Yukuyamon looked at what the humans would call a calendar, having reconstructed one out of the images he had received from the real world. It was now the month of June. The end of the month named May was when Ninjamon had entered the realm of humans, and the beginning of June was when the rooster diva fell at the hands of the very same humans he had been trying to destroy. Also, that was when he had received his advice from the voice who seemed to have a power over him, something that felt familiar and dark, yet comforting and warm, that he was able to be swayed by the voice's advisory abilities. The chaos is rising. I must save my kind. The Digimon depend on the catalyst and ... The humans will fall as they have brought this threat upon us. Yukuyamon then went towards his throne of flames and flapped his wings before nestling in it. Yukuyamon-sama, I have some changes in the plan for you to make, Lusamon said. Once again, for those that might get confused, Yukuyamon doesn't know this is Lusamon talking to him. What is it now? Yukuyamon said, rolling his eyes. He was getting annoyed with having to respond using his thoughts whenever his advisor spoke to him. Yukuyamon was one who liked to hear the sound of his own voice. The timing. The month must be changed, for which you will send Vikaramon and Makuramon to the real world. Apparently, during the summer, the Digimon Apocalypse in Azulonmon's quadrant, the one who was defeated by the Digidstein that is seen as a television show in this real world, will attempt to break free into the real world. This will put a damper on our own plans because he will interfere with the Tamers, as they will have to go and try and stop him, and they will take the catalyst with them. Wait until the winter times. During the month of September is when we will send out the 2 devas. But why so late to send out the devas? Yukuyamon asked, his throne of fire crackling wildly to reflect his uneasiness. He wanted to retrieve Kalumon as soon as possible. His throne was a mental link to his emotions, such as flaring up when in anger or gentle when calm. Because Yukuyamon-sama, due to the devas you will not send during the summer, the Tamers will lulled into a facile sense of security. After all, you will send out your other devas during this month alone, correct? Yukuyamon nodded. That is correct. If Andramon fails, I will be sending out as many of the devas we can when possible, in order to get back Kalumon. But I see where you are going with this. By not sending out any of the devas in such a long time, they will think we have given up, and then we will have the element of surprise on our side. Choose carefully as to who your devas will be. When Andramon fails, Naruto will not be taken down so easily. How do you know that boy the shinobi is the one to defeat my diva? Naruto's potential and strength know no bounds. He is constantly growing and adapting as he increases in levels of strength. Andramon will fall because of his arrogant nature, as he underestimates the boy as well as his friends and their Digimon. Remember what I said, choose carefully when sending out your next devas. Until next time, Yukuyamon-sama. Lusamon smirked as he severed the connection. Since Yukuyamon was located in the digital world, it was easier to get in contact with the Phoenix rather than to get in contact with Naruto in the real world. Also, Yukuyamon was very easy to manipulate once it aided in the Phoenix of the South's plans to get back Kalumon. Naive little fool, the fallen angel said to himself before going into rest. During the winter time, the seal will be at its weakest. However, it will still be strong enough to hold me, yet weak enough for it to be broken by an outside force. The time draws near, my freedom draws near, and Naruto my boy ... You will help me in doing so. Lusamon spoke with an evil grin. His sky blue eyes glowed along with the seemingly pulsing digital hazard symbol on his right hand. Kalumon ... You will be taken here. Your rightful place in the digital world will be restored, the Phoenix said to himself. Shinjuku, underneath the freeway. It was evening. The sky was now filled with a blood-red color, clouds seeming to be an ebony shade as they floated in the crimson sea. Naruto, Dorumon and Gatomon stood beneath the freeway. It acted as a bridge as people normally passed beneath it while cars took the freeway in order to bypass the human traffic congestion. Now that it was evening, the people were in their homes and there were no cars on the freeway. "So Naruto, what are we doing here?" Dorumon asked his tamer, Padamon resting her head on his shoulder as he was in a sitting position against one of the support columns that made up the freeway. "We are waiting," Naruto said. "For what exactly?" Padamon asked. A purr added at the end of her question, a sign that she was bored. Naruto did not respond, but suddenly his D-arcs began to go off. Both reddish-violet and bronze-colored D-arcs released high-pitched beeps that alerted them to the arrival of a Digimon. "Hypnos HQ. Sir, there's been a Digimon spotted. It's attempting to bio-emerge," Tally said, although she held more respect in her tone since she did not have the confidence of her co-worker Riley to stand up against the blonde man. "I see. Well, take it down. That digital monster must not be able to make its way here. Activate Yugoth and send a tracer to stop it," Yamaki commanded as he sat down, observing the fingers that flew across the keyboards of his two workers from their rotating chairs above. "Yugoth deployed ... and Yugoth destroyed," Riley said with a confused look on her face. Yugoth's data representation was removed from the screen, but the tracer still managed to lock on as the Digimon continued to make its way through the barrier between the two worlds. "Sir, it's bio-emerging. The Digimon made it through. The location is..." Riley typed a few keys. "The West Shinjuku Freeway." "Understood. Prepare to utilize the Juggernaut X program," Yamaki commanded. "I want it ready within the hour." Hi, the two computer geniuses typed away as their boss bit his nails in frustration. Why do these freaks only make it through? Juggernaut X had been a success so far. Maybe this one is like that giant tiger those kids fought. It was the only one that able to get through. Let's see if it can handle this level of data removal. The blonde sunglasses wearing man though, his cigarette lighter cap opening and closing as he played with it. West Shinjuku Freeway. Naruto, Dorumon and Padamon stared at the large digital field that formed before the field dissipated and a large fountain of data emerged from the earth. The data began to swirl as it began to condense and form into a solid shape. Proteins began to synthesize as the data mixed with the proteins and made solid form. The result was a Digimon. It looked like a giant horse with purple fur that covered most of its body. A silvery mane stretched down from its head and made its way down the Digimon's neck and ended at the mid-back, some of it sweeping over its shoulders and in front of its neck while also covering its eyes. A single red horn poked through the mane hair surrounding its forehead. Its two front limbs were larger than its back limbs, making it hunch over slightly. The two front limbs were covered in red bandages from the thigh area to just above the hoof area, with golden chrome digizoid that made horse shoes for the mammalian-looking Digimon. Golden horse shoes and hooves also made the Digimon's back feet. Golden bracers were wrapped around its ankles. Golden armor was worn over its chest area that covered the upper abdominal of the rather muscular horse. A belt was worn around its waist along with a giant conch shell was attached to its back by two green cloth straps that were worn over its shoulders. "I am the server of the Sovereign One. Who may you be? Where is the catalyst?" The large horse bellowed as he spied Naruto, Dorumon and Padamon walking out from beneath the freeway. "I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and judging from your big ego, I'm guessing you're a diva who follows the old bird," Naruto said with a glare at the horse. "I will not allow you to speak about Jukuyamon-sama that way." The horse whinnied before raising his large frontal hooves and bringing them down. The three rolled to the right before they glared at the horse. "Why are you here for Kalumon?" Naruto asked. "Jukuyamon-sama had ordered me to do so. The light of Digivolution must be brought back to the digital world is what he said, and destroy those who oppose me. I will follow the Sovereign One without question. Now be gone." The purple horse raised his large frontal hooves again and tried to crush the three beneath them, but Naruto quickly grabbed his two partners and jumped back. He rested them on the ground and took out his D-arc. After 20 seconds, which was the time it took for the large diva to reach them, the D-arc beeped and a holographic image of the purple horse appeared on screen along with its data. Dorumon and Padamon quickly jumped to attack the diva, landing on the Digimon's arms as it tried to knock them down before running up its arms to reach its head. Andramon, ultimate level and follower of Jukuyamon. Just as I thought. His strength is just as large as himself and he is able to hold that giant shell on his back with telekinesis. His attacks are Horn of Desolation and Bao Bei. Naruto pocketed Padamon's D-arc before taking out Dorumon's and the Digivolution card, but paused and put them away when he saw a small shadow jump out from behind him. Dorumon and Padamon were running up along Andramon's arms before jumping off. Padamon's foot glowed with a bright white aura while Dorumon's body suddenly shone as if it were polished steel. Nico Kick, Hyper Dash Metal. The two attacks collided head-on with Andramon's nose, sending the diva's head back a bit from the impact of the two rather strong attacks. You two are quite strong for a rookie and a champion level," Andramon said before smirking. However, you're going to need more than that to beat me. Andramon struck them down with his large left hoof, sending the two partners downwards. They managed to flip in mid-air and right themselves before skidding along the ground. They growled at the Diva, but stopped when they saw a small purple Digimon in front of them. "Oi, horse breath, what the hell do you're doing?" Impmon yelled. "HMPH, another weakling. These two are my opponents. Leave me be," Andramon said, looking over to Dorumon and Padamon. "I will not be ignored." And just as strong as those two, Impmon yelled as a small red fireball flickered to life on the edge of his finger. Badaboom! The red fireball collided with Andramon's nose, but did no damage. "Is that all?" Andramon chuckled before lashing out and crashing his right golden hoof against Impmon, sending the rookie Digimon to the ground before striking him again and slamming him into a nearby column. Impmon fell to the ground panting, but remained defiant. "I am not weak." Impmon ran and jumped as he avoided an attack before leaping up to Andramon's nose. "You think you and your stinkin' sovereign are gonna defeat me? I'm top dog around here and I will obliterate you." Impmon lashed out with a ferocious right hook followed by a kick before rotating his body and slamming his heel against the horse Diva's muzzle, and then used the momentum to reverse his twist and then performed a front flip to plant an axe kick which crashed into the horse Diva's nose. Impmon then lashed out with a doubled punch followed by a double kick and then fired multiple fireball at Andramon. Impmon suddenly heard Andramon chuckled and saw his attacks had done no damage whatsoever before he was struck in the side with a hoof. Impmon fell before Andramon raised his hoof. It traveled after Impmon and landed atop the fallen Digimon. Impmon was shown to be badly injured as the hoof was raised, his form flickering in and out of its stability. Impmon struggled to stand, his form still flickering. Meanwhile, beneath the freeway, Takato, Henry and Rika had arrived and were watching the poor guy's struggle as he fought with all his heart to fight the larger Digimon. "Renamon, we have to help him," Rika cried out to her partner. The blonde Kitsune Digimon shook her head before her icy blue eyes gazed at the fellow rookie Digimon. "No, not unless we have to. This is Impmon's fight. We cannot intervene. This is a matter of pride, not strength," Renamon spoke. Infernal funnel. Everyone looked to see Impmon standing on his 2 feet, arms outstretched before a red ring of fire formed, with a pink ring of flame forming within the red ring. The two mixed to form a larger fireball about the size of 2 basketballs combined. The pinkish-red fireball flew at Andramon and impacted with his mane, setting the hair ablaze. Andramon gasped and quickly put out the flames, but some of the silvery hairs fell to the ground, burnt to ashes. You burnt my luxurious mane. I work hours to make it have that shine. You insolent little digigaki, I'll end you." Andramon raised his arms and the shell on his back appeared in front of him. Bow Bay. The shell then came down upon Impmon, but before it could make contact, Renamon quickly sped into the fray and grabbed the little Digimon and bringing him back to the freeway. "I was supposed to be the strongest there was, apparently I'm just a nobody. A weakling," Impmon said as he sniffled. He fell to his hands and knees, a pathetic act for one such as Impmon as he pounded the ground with his fist. Renamon watched before turning and running off into battle. "Goman Impmon ... but we can't let you die. Not now ... you have a purpose ... you just need to find out what it is," Renamon thought as the Tamers swiped their cards and the 4 rookies digivolved into their champion forms. Digivolution. Dorumon digivolved to Dorgrimon. Renamon digivolved to Kyubimon. Gilman digivolved to Growlmon. Terriermon digivolved to Gargomon. "Everyone, attack!" Naruto cried and the 5 champion level Digimon sprung into action. Dorgrimon and Padamon upon the dragon Digimon's head flew up to eye level before Dorgrimon opened his mouth. Power metal. The dragon roared before the electrically charged orb of steel and iron struck the horse, sending it stumbling back a bit. Growlmon then jumped and his elbow protrusions glowed blue with energy. Dragon slash. The 2 blades of energy clashed with Andramon's red bandages, not even ripping them. But the impact of the attack was felt as Andramon grunted, but still didn't budge. Kyubimon ran forward and then spun in the air. Dragon Wheel. Pyroblaster. Growlmon's and Kyubimon's attacks mixed to form a violet fire dragon that crashed into Andramon's stomach that nearly caused Andramon to fall. But he was humiliated as the Diva did fall. Gargo Laser. Gargomon yelled as his bullets hit the sensitive underparts of the golden hooves of the horse Diva, causing him to whinny in pain a bit before stumbling onto one knee. Lightning Paw. Digimodify. Power Activate. Naruto yelled, swiping the card through Gadamon's D-Arc. Gadamon's claws were then surrounded by a brighter white energy before slamming into Andramon's face with enough force to send the Digimon's head snapping back. Dragon Slash. Growlmon yelled as Dorgrimon swooped down and threw the red-scaled dinosaur up to Andramon's facial level, and then the digital hazard Digimon spun in the air, and using the momentum, the Dragon Slash struck forth and sent the large horse tumbling to the ground. Growlman was then joined in the air as the other appeared next to him. Growlman opened his maw and the largest ball of flame ever made by him was formed. Red, blue and violet sparks of electricity formed in Dorgrimon's reptilian jaws as a metal sphere materialized and it coated with the sparks. Kyuhyubimon spread out her tails and the 9 small blue falls of flame formed. The ghostly blue fireballs then began to burn even more intensely as Kyuhyubimon channeled more power into her attack. Gargomon's Gatling guns spun rapidly, glowing an emerald color while Gatomon's foot glowed with a powerful white aura. Pyroblaster, Tower Metal, Gargo Laser, Foxtail Inferno, Nico Kick. All 5 attacks were launched forth. Naruto then smirked as he drew a card. Digimodify, Energy Transfer Activate. The blonde shinobi tamer swiped the card through the slit in the side of the bronze gold-colored D-Arc. Gatomon then spun in the air forming a small twister of white as the energy from all the other attacks surrounding her fused with the energy from her Nico Kick, transferring into her being. Gatomon's foot then glowed a rainbow of colors as they formed a large rainbow-colored flame around what used to be a Nico Kick attack. Gatomon bared her sharp feline fangs in a broad smile as the powers of fire, light, steel and electricity coursed through her veins. The electricity and flames flying off as residue from the attack as it neared Andramon's downed form. Collaboration attack, Elemental Crusher. Gatomon cried out, however, as the attack was about to make contact. Andramon's form was suddenly absorbed into a swirling red, green and blue vortex in the sky. Luckily, Gatomon's attack was able to nail the Diva hard enough in the stomach for Andramon to cry out in pain before he vanished as data into the vortex of Juggernaut X. Hey, my attack didn't get all the way through, Gatomon yelled as she stood in the crater that was made as her attack had met the ground. Everyone then looked up to see the swirling colorful vortex. Red, green and blue flakes of data made up the portal that led back to the digital world. Suddenly the vortex began to suck up Growlman, Gatomon, Gargomon and Kyuhyubimon into the vortex. Dorgrimon growled as he was also being sucked into the vortex, but then without his knowing, the X antibody on his forehead shone with a crimson light. X antibody activates. Dorgrimon yelled as if he was possessed by some other being, his burnt orange eyes holding a dull glow to them. The X antibody then released a large beam that shot into the vortex that caused the Juggernaut X program to crumble from within before it vanished in a flash of white light. Dorgrimon sighed, the glow leaving his eyes. He then quickly dived down, straight as an arrow and caught Gatomon on his back and Growlman and Kyuhyubimon in his hands which he tirelessly began to try and rest on the ground gently as he flapped his wings heavily. Gargomon fell past them and slammed onto the ground forming a small crater. Gargomon whined as he rubbed his head. Did somebody get the digi code of the monochromon that ran me over? Gargomon asked before lying back down and digivolving back into Terrierman. Everyone's sweat dropped, but still managed to show concern through it as their friend was injured. Dorgrimon managed to let Growlman and Kyuhyubimon down as gently as he could, causing them both to drop from about 10 feet onto their asses. The 2 champion level Digimon grunted before they digivolve. Dorgrimon the digivolve in midair, managing to catch Gatomon also while landing on his feet. You okay, Gato-chan? The purple-furred dragon asked the feline Digimon. That attack seemed to take a lot out of you. Where did you learn that attack? Rinamon asked. She didn't, it came with the spur of the moment. All of our attack were going to collide with Andramon, the horse Diva Digimon we were fighting just now, so I decided to transfer all of their power into Gatomon's attack since she actually required physical contact for her attack. The name Elemental Crusher, as cool as it sounds, it was made up, wasn't it? The blonde asked his partner. Gatomon stuck out her tongue playfully, which meant yes, I made it up. What was that portal in the sky? Henry asked. Naruto sighed. Hypnos, as I told you, which is located in the twin towers over there, Naruto said, pointing to the clearly seen Hypnos HQ towers, is an organization that is trying to stop Digimon from bio-emerging into the real world so as to protect it. However, Yamaki, the seemingly head honcho of Hypnos, had developed a program called Juggernaut X, a destructive program that seems to remove Digimon from this world and send them back to the digital world. Although, I could see that as some of the Digimon from before we met Mihiraman on the day the Juggernaut X program was launched, some Digimon had disintegrated. And as much as I dislike the Devis though, I hope Andramon managed to survive, Naruto explained. I see, so how is Dorgrimon able to stop it? Takato asked. He seemed to fire a laser from his forehead and stop it. That is the work of the X antibody within Dorumon's programming. You see, in the beginning when Digimon were first being made, the prototype program called the Old Interface was made in the act of trying to create artificial life. I have my sources by snooping through Hypnos' secret files when I sneaked in before. Anyways, the project was shut down due to lack of funding and the Digimon project cut off. However, the Digimon managed to live on, and thus it formed Dorumon or Padamon since he was still a baby Digimon, Naruto said. The Juggernaut X program contains a specific data-destroying program that destroys and trashes any useless data that is seen as such by the user of it. It is called the X program. The X antibody, from what I can tell, was integrated into Dorumon's software as he was made, and therefore he built up an immunity to the ancient program and thus is able to survive the Juggernaut X program as well as use its powers to stop it by shooting a beam as we have just seen or during the first time. A large shield of data was generated from the X antibody to protect him during the time with Meharuman. I see, so this Juggernaut X program is a Digimon genocide maker. Henry summarized. Pretty much, and we have to be careful when Yamaki uses it ... or else one of our own could be lost to it, Naruto said. The Tamers nodded, but then they paused as Naruto and Dorumon turned back to face Padamon, who was still looking at the crater from the elemental crusher. Padamon, Gato-chan, the Tamer and partner asked, trying to get her attention. Padamon remained focused on what she was looking at before looking up at where the Juggernaut X portal formed, and then she spotted something. Floating in the air were tiny blue and violet data particles that stayed there for a while before shooting off across the sky as it turned dark. Andramon is not gone, Padamon said as she faced the others. Nanny, are you sure? Gilman asked. Hi, I spotted data residue, but it wasn't. Apparently the Devis are able to disintegrate their own data, and then probably reintegrate themselves back into their forms, as they are probably able to reintegrate themselves back into their original forms. Andramon is probably injured from the attack we hit him with. Even if I only managed to produce minimal damage, the attack was able to injure that smelly horse enough for him to retreat. The Juggernaut X was probably there only to take Andramon, but since Andramon had disintegrated himself, the Juggernaut X program looked for the next best thing. Rika inquired. Padamon nodded. Well, guess tomorrow we'll have to prepare for a surprise attack. Remember, don't let your guard down at all tomorrow morning, guys. Padamon, Dorumon. Naruto then knelt down as Dorumon climbed onto his back and Padamon on his blonde hair-covered head. The shinobi gave a small wave and winked at Rika before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The others nodded to each other. Serious expressions played upon their faces before they turned away and left for home. Be prepared, no holding back, the other Tamers and their Digimon thought simultaneously. The next day, Shinjuku Sewer Complex. Impmon trudged through the murky waters of the sewer as he sighed, his green eyes downcast. I'm such a failure, having that Renamon save my ass, Impmon growled as he fell from exhaustion. Andramon's attacks had left more than just pain of the body, it pained his mind and spirit from the battle. His weakness being shown to him firsthand while the others fought valiantly and managed to pull off a win. I'm never going to digivolve. I'm just a loser, a digibaka. I don't even deserve to be what I am. I'm not even considered to be a Digimon. I can't do anything. Impmon began to shudder and shake. Tears began to fall from his eyes. The bottled up emotions of sadness, regret and frustration all being released as the dam burst and the emotions flooded out. He sat there for 1 whole hour until a blue light covered him. So this world can't even stand my weakness and is getting rid of me too, eh? Impmon said as he looked at the blue light. His emerald eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the light. What the hell? Do you wish to become strong? A voice asked him. Impmon gulped and walked towards the light that suddenly became a portal. Do you wish to become strong? The unknown voice asked again. Impmon blinked. The voice was full of warmth and kindness, but behind it he could hear the darkness within those words. But in his pitiful state he couldn't really interpret anything. However, the young Digimon didn't know how right he was as he nodded. Hi, I want to be strong, I want to digivolve, Impmon declared. The voice chuckled and then the digital hazard symbol blazed to life on Impmon's chest, and then he was sucked into the portal. Come to me, come back to your home in the digital world and I shall grant you your wish, young Impmon, the voice said. Impmon's green eyes suddenly widened and the image of a young humanoid Digimon with 8 angelic wings and blonde hair with sky blue eyes formed in his mind's eye. I will go home. I will serve you, Lusamon-sama, and with that Impmon disappeared from the real world. Streets of Shinjuku. The 4 Tamers and their Digimon were walking through the streets. Well, actually, Gilman, Dorumon and Terrierman were kept in the open while Padamon and Renamon had to take to the rooftops since Renamon was too big and no one would have bought the kid in a cat suit alibi since the flicking of Padamon's tail would have blown her cover. Talumon had appeared out of nowhere again and was currently atop Dorumon's head making funny faces into the reflection of himself as he gazed into the shining old interface of the X antibody embedded in Dorumon's forehead. I don't know how people are gullible enough to buy that Gilman and Dorumon are people in costumes, while when I brought out Padamon they thought she was a mutant cat ... That makes no fucking sense. Naruto thought as he watched Dorumon mope without his girlfriend beside him. Naruto held on to Rika's hand as they walked through the streets until they heard a cry. Oi, Takato, Chumli, Takato-kun. Came the respective cries of Kenta, Kazu, and Jerry. The three non-tamers ran up to them and smirked. Oi, Chumli, check this out. I made my own blue card. Now I'm a tamer just like you guys, Casey said, proudly flashing the badly drawn card. It was made of several pieces of suction paper stuck together to the same thickness as a Digimon card and was colored blue with the badly drawn D and pixelated, if you could call it that, dinosaur. The drawing was crudely colored as well as if by, is that crayon? They all thought with a sweat drop. Kazu, listen, it's not that easy. Making your own blue card doesn't make you a tamer. You have to have a partner and a D-arc that represents the bond between you and your Digimon like we do, Takatan explained. Now come on, we're gonna kick a giant horse's ass to the curb, Takato said as their D-arcs began to beep. Exit highway from West Shinjuku leading to Central Shinjuku. The cars were stopped as the traffic lights suddenly began to stop working and a large digital field popped up out of nowhere. The digital field expanded, growing larger and larger before it was removed, and there stood Andramon. The giant purple pony whinnied before bringing his hooves down, crushing a few cars and causing a shockwave that caused the highway, which was balanced on strong titanium-infused columns, to crack slightly and creak and also cause many cars to turn over and crash into each other, causing major traffic congestion. People, having seen the giant horse, quickly began getting out of their cars and racing back towards the city. After several hours, many people had made it to safety, although Andramon may not have been so merciful and killed few hundred with his Baobei, the giant shell. Then when the majority of people left, the 4 Digimon tamers arrived on the scene. Look, it's him, it's Andramon, Henry cried out as the 4 tamers and 3 non-tamers arrived on scene. Let's do this, Naruto cried out as they all took out their D-arcs and cards. Digimodify, Digivolution activate. Kaluman's crimson triangle on his forehead began to glow, bathing the 4 rookies in a red light as their tamers slashed the Digivolution cards through the slits on the side of their D-arcs. Digivolution. Dorumon Digivolve 2. Dorumon's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Dorumon's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Dorumon's champion form. The large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Growlman, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area. Hands, feet, wrists, and ankles along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface, lay in the center of its forehead. Dorgrimon, Renamon Digivolve 2. Renamon's form was encased in a swirling blue egg of data, her skin and fur peeling off to reveal a larger form beneath it all and bound together by a wireframe pattern. She changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of 1 tail, 8 more had sprouted out. Now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Kyuubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs, and 1 lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. Kyuubimon, Gilman Digivolve 2. Gilman was surrounded by a swirling red egg of data. Gilman's skin then peeled away to reveal a darker red form that was patterned in a wireframe pattern. The skin then reattached itself to form a larger, more powerful form of Gilman. The egg of data exploded to reveal a larger version of Gilman, except the ears were now like spikes and 2 blade-like protrusion came from his elbows, and Gilman seemed to look a lot more reptilian-looking with a mane of silver-white hair growing from the back of his head. Black band-like patterns with digicode on them were shown on his legs, forearms, and around the thick part of his tail. The 0 unit was emblazoned on his feet and hands, while the digital hazard symbol was located on his left shoulder. Growlman, Terrierman Digivolve 2. Terrierman was surrounded by an egg of swirling green data. Terrierman's skin peeled away to reveal a large green rabbit covered in wireframe pattern, or blue squares for a simpler term. The skin then reattached itself as Terriermon's body grew into that of a larger rabbit. His face and ears were entirely green. The edge of the ears, the body and muzzle of Gargomon being a tan color. A red diamond lay in the center of the champion level's forehead. 2 red slash-like marking were on Gargomon's cheeks. His hands were replaced with Gatling guns. A string of ammunition was strapped across the trigger Happy Bunny's chest, and he wore a pair of navy blue jeans. Gargomon, the 5 champion Digimon, appeared again to face off against the dreaded purple pony, only his time. The giant Diva seemed to be a bit bigger than last time. Is it just me, or does the purple pony over there seem bigger? Gargomon asked. Everyone looked at Gargomon and then at Andramon before their eyes widened. You know, I think Gargomon has a point, Rika said. The large horse Diva did seem to be a few meters taller from when they previously met him. Ah yes, my little playmates, so nice to see you again. Now Jukuealman-sama can finally get the catalyst back, seeing as how he is with you. Right there, Andramon whined, pointing at Kalumon. Now wait, you're going to get your grubby little hooves on Kalumon. The Digimon roared. Andramon snorted and stomped his hooves. These hooves are encased in chrome digizoids, so who do you think you're calling grubby? Andramon said. Andramon, as powerful as he is, had a soft spot for his looks, and was why he lashed out with such fury when Impmon burnt his mane. The Digimon then charged forwards and attacked. Dragon Slash, Growlman yelled before jumping into the air and aimed his elbow blades at the large horse, but the Diva smirked before bringing up his hoof and slamming it down on Growlman. The red dinosaur grunted in pain as he met the harsh concrete right between 2 cars. Hyuubimon then ran past the down Dino before spinning in the air, ghostly blue flames surrounding her form, and then taking off in the form of a dragon. Dragon Wheel. The Sapphire Dragon roared before racing towards Andramon. But the horse simply took a deep breath, and large hurricane of winds from his large horse nostrils. The winds, although fanning flames, also managed to divert and blow the dragon off course, and it dispersed in midair. Gargomon had used the attack as a distraction in order to leap atop a large gasoline truck. Henry, a little strength here. Henry nodded and swiped the card. Digimodify, power activate. Gargomon looked, and Dorgrimon and Gatomon and the 3 nodded. Gargomon jumped high into the air using powerful leg muscles as he leaped above the gasoline truck. Dorgrimon then swooped down and grabbed it before throwing it upwards. Gatomon followed it before spinning in the air, and used to build up momentum. Nico kick. Her glowing white paw, foot slammed into the now dented gas truck as it sailed past Gargomon and at Andramon. Gargo Laser. The 2 Gatling gun hands of Gargomon fired the barrage of green laser bullets that struck the gasoline truck as it was near Andramon's face and caused it to explode, causing a loud boom to race through the air and reach the ears of those present. The Digimon smirked in triumph. However, their happiness was short-lived as they saw the Digimon standing there without any damage done to him. Is that all you got? Andramon asked with a chuckle before the giant Baobei on his back floated from his cloth bindings and appeared in front of him. Take him down, combine attack. Dorgrimon yelled. Naruto slashed a card through Gatomon's D-arc, and the feline's left arm grew into the shape of Metal Garurumon's head. The head's jaws opened out and a cannon was shown to be held within. Digimodify, Almondman's Supreme Cannon. Power Metal, Foxtail Inferno, Pyro Blaster, Gargo Laser, Supreme Cannon. The 5 attacks swirled into one before racing towards the gargantuan steed. But Andramon chuckled as the inside of the Baobei began to glow with a rainbow-colored light, and the attack was absorbed into it. Ha ha ha, you cannot defeat me. Andramon bellowed as he took a deep breath. Growlman's eyes widened. Just absorbed. Gatomon spoke. All our attacks. Kyubimon finished the sentence. A surprising statement, since those were their most powerful attacks as well as one of Naruto's most powerful modification cards. Andramon then took a deeper breath of air before releasing the air into the large conch shell with an exhale from his great lung capacity. Horn of Desolation. A large beam, with at least double the attack power of their combined attack, shot back at the 5. Naruto and the others cursed as the blonde drew a card. Digimodify, Imperti Aldramon Paladin Mode's Omni Sword. He yelled. Gatomon's claws were suddenly clutching the famed Omni Sword before she spun the blade expertly in her hands before spinning it in a circle. The Horn of Desolation was being held back. But Gatomon was only 1 Digimon, and although the attack was significantly weakened, it still posed to cause great damage. And great damage it caused, for Gatomon's Omni Sword broke before her very eyes, and the attack continued straight and true before impacting with her and the rest of the Digimon. The other watched as the blast had their Digimon scattered. Then they heard the sound of helicopters from above. Look, maybe this should be a job for the military. They could handle it. Takato yelled. The helicopters raced through the clear blue skies over their heads. Is that a giant horse? One pilot asked. I don't care, just kill it. the lead pilot ordered. Missiles blazed to life as their speed and destructive detonating prowess were sure to defeat the Digimon, which it didn't, for Andramon simply raised his front hoof and blocked it before swiping with them, hitting 3 of the 4 helicopters, then came to help from the Japanese defense. The helicopters spun out of control and the pilots ejected themselves as their rides were blown to smithereens as it impacted with the road below. "I'm gonna miss that heli," said one pilot. The 4th helicopter then acted as a rescue copter and saved the parachuting ex-pilots before abandoning the mission. "Mission abort, mission abort. Enemy is too strong, cannot engage. I repeat, we cannot engage. We're returning to base," the pilot of the 4th helicopter said. "Great, even the country's defenses don't work," Rika said, rolling her eyes. The Digimon then stood to their feet and Naruto gritted his teeth as he withdrew a blue card. "Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution," Naruto yelled. "Matrix Crystal activate." Kalluman yelled as the blue light expelled from the bronze D-Arc mixed with the light of Digivolution as it was launched at Gatomon. Gatomon smirked. "I'll take you down now. Matrix Digivolution." Gatomon Matrix Digivolve 2. Gatomon glowed a bronze gold color as her body lengthened and became more humanoid. Her tail retracted into her body and 8 angelic wings grew on her back. Her ears became a small pair of angelic wings that were connected to a steel helmet that covered her eyes and nose. Long, flowing blonde hair cascaded down her back from her head like a waterfall of gold. A white outfit covered her previously naked body, leaving only a bit of her stomach and her upper thighs visible. 2 wing-shaped cups covered her breasts in a makeshift bra of some sort, and a long pink ribbon with digicode printed along it was wrapped around her arms. A pair of galls that stretched to her forearms appeared, and finally a pair of boots. The one on her left looked like a regular high-heel boot that was apparently a part of the leotard-like bodysuit she was wearing, while the one on her right was relatively normal if you didn't count the fact it was completely covered with pure white feathers. Her ring from her tail became wrapped around her left ankle. Her 8 angelic wings flapped majestically. Angemon, the angel Digimon, glared beneath her steel helmet and held out her feathery bow, and an arrow of light formed. "Celestial arrow," she yelled, and the light arrow sped towards the Diva, but Andramon batted it away only to come face to face with an angry goddess of the digital world. With surprising strength that surprised even Andramon, Angemon lashed out and punched Andramon in the face, sending the horse Diva stumbling backwards and falling to the ground. Then she grabbed the Diva by his back left hoof and dragged him along the ground, scraping his body against the cars, only stopping when she reached where her friends lay, which only fueled her need to stop this monster. She threw Andramon up into the air and then flew after him at speeds that caused her to break the sound barrier. A barrage of punches landed before she let loose a palm strike that formed a palm of light to the stomach before flying towards his chest area, and punched it repeatedly as cracks began to form on the armor. She then kicked him in the stomach before twisting, and a backhand struck Andramon, sending him flying through the air. Angemon then blurred out of existence before appearing baying Andramon and fired a roundhouse to his back, and then appearing in front of him and spun to crash her elbow against his snout. Andramon whinnied in pain as a left hook struck his jaw, followed by a right hook, then an elbow to the chin. Angemon then spun 90 degrees and crashed her right elbow into his face before twisting at her hips and hitting Andramon with her left elbow. "That was for endangering my tamer," she roared. This wrath of the angel Digimon gave new meaning to "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." She then got down low by flying underneath the now falling Andramon before going upwards and planted both her feet against the horse Diva's chin. Andramon flew upwards as Angemon appeared above the horse Diva and then clasped her hands together and brought them down on Andramon. "That's for hurting my friends." And then as the purple pony fell, her giant light arrow formed, and then she aimed and let it fly, straight and true. "And this is for hurting the man I love, Udama Celestial Arrow." The 8-winged angel Digimon yelled out her final proclamation, which caused Dorgrimon to smile. "She's a knockout," he whispered as the celestial arrow struck the horse Diva. A large explosion of light formed and a large smoke cloud resulted. Angemon puffed as he fixed her hair and descended slowly to ground level. Her 8 wings flapped tiredly and her feather boy retracted back to lay against her arm. Angemon smiled at the others and gave a thumbs up. "We won," Kazu yelled. Naruto nodded, but then stopped as his eyes widened. No, it can't be," he yelled. He turned to his ultimate leveled partner. "Angemon, get out of there now." The angel Digimon looked confused as she looked down and saw a bright light, and as she was struck, the last things she heard before going into unconsciousness and reverting back to Gatomon was her name being yelled out by her boyfriend and the name of the attack that struck her. "Horn of Desolation." A pillar of light greeted the eyes of the 6 preteens and single teenager. Angemon screamed loudly from the pain as the Baobei returned the power of her Udama celestial arrow struck her with twice the force and twice the power, sending her falling to the ground smoking from her wings. Everyone's eyes widened, and then Naruto quickly channeled chakra into his feet and ran before catching the fallen angel. Angemon. Dorgrimon cried out in fear, the emotion evident in his burnt orange eyes. Angemon, then she glowed with golden bronze light and shrunk down, becoming cat-like as she returned back to being Gatomon. Naruto shook with anger and sadness as he looked at his barely moving partner. He quickly formed hand signs and used one of the only healing jutsus he knew. Green chakra spread out over her body, healing her wounds, the dust on her fur still there though. He then got up and saw Kyuubiman right next to him. The 9-tailed Kitsune looked at Gatomon and nodded before taking her from Naruto. That's it. You hurt this city, you hurt innocent people, and now you hurt my partner. There is no way in hell you're getting out of this alive, Andramon. Naruto roared. Killing intent flew from him and struck the ultimate level Digimon like a tsunami. Andramon didn't seem fazed by it, but on the inside he was sweating a bit. He's a human, he can't do much, the horse Diva whispered to himself. He was proven quite wrong as Naruto, cloaked in a wild red aura of Yokai, struck out with a powerful punch that sent Andramon skating backwards for several seconds before tripping over a car, and then rolling on the ground. Naruto dropped down, and then Dorgrimon flew up into the air, and then dropped down in front of Naruto. We will make you pay for hurting our comrade, the one I love, Dorgrimon said, with a few tears falling from his burnt orange eyes. His rounded pupils were slitted now, just like Naruto, and contained a slight tint of crimson. Calumen's red triangle and the 0 unit emblazoned on his forehead glowed intensely before shooting off towards Dorgrimon, who was a few feet in front of the cream-puffed Digimon. Dorgrimon growled as the power of the light of Digivolution filled him. What, another one can Digivolve? Andramon thought as he rose to his feet. The armor that Naruto punched. A large chunk of the chrome Digizoid fell off, and then Andramon looked as Naruto held a glowing sapphire card in his hand. Andramon could only gasp and say one thing. OF, Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution. Naruto yelled, and the red light surrounding Dorgrimon intensified before mixing with the deep blue of the blue card. Dorgrimon growled before releasing a bestial roar to the heavens, power flowing through him. Dorgrimon Matrix Digivolve 2. Dorgrimon's entire body was encased in what looked like liquid metal, solidifying over his body. Dorgrimon's body was then changed within the metal cocoon, which could be seen from the external look of the metal covering. The metal then broke and revealed the ultimate level Digimon. The 2 front limbs grew longer, and then the dragon Digimon dropped onto all 4s. The tail lengthened and began to twist along the length, and at the tip was a large golden spike of some sort. The dragon's face had elongated, looking for reptilian looking. A large blade made the horn that grew from his snout. 2 pairs of steel-colored wings. The lining surrounding the wings was a darker shade of gray than the membrane. 5 golden rings lined the skin that surrounded the lining of the membrane, each having 1 sharp golden spike on the rings. The back pair of wings were slightly smaller than the frontal pair. The dragon was covered with red fur with black zigzag markings. The nose area, feet and underside of the dragon was snow white, just like the mane which ran down its back. The mane ending at the end of the long neck the dragon had. 4 gray, steel spikes jutted out of the neck of the ultimate level dragon Digimon, 2 on each side. The ears were more pointed. 3 long, sharp black claws poised to kill grew out of each foot, and its teeth were lined with many pearly white teeth. His crimson red eyes glowed with power along with the old interface that remained on his forehead before releasing a roar to heavens. Dorgrimon. Everyone stared in awe at the large dragon. The Digimon was as large as Andramon, possibly a bit bigger. You. Andramon paused. Yes, I digivolved, now. Dorgrimon's eyes glowed as he glared at Andramon. You misguided horse Diva, for hurting someone dear to me, prepare to face the consequences. Dorgrimon growled. Andramon held the Baobei in front of him for defense and charged the equal if not slightly larger dragon Digimon. He swung the large conch shell with a battle cry. Baobei the purple horse cried and swung the shell. Dorgrimon looked bored before ducking beneath the swing and charged forward and headbutted Andramon before rearing up on his hind legs and slashing with the forelimbs, leaving large gashes on the horse's body. He then impaled Andramon's arm from a headbutt using the horn blade on his nose. As he removed the blade, Dorgrimon twisted and grabbed Andramon's back left hoof and pulled, tripping the horse Diva and then standing atop of him and growled like the beast Digimon he was. I hold the alias as the final enemy Andramon, did you know that? I am your final enemy that you will see. Dorgrimon held up his golden spike-pointed tail and held it high. Any last words? The crimson-furred dragon asked. Andramon chuckled before nodding. Hi, to Baobei. Huh? Dorgrimon was suddenly struck in the head, sending him skidding over a few cars, before the dragon decided to use his wings and took flight. Horn of Desolation. The violet-colored Diva said before taking many deep breaths and launching multiple energy blasts from the Baobei. Dorgrimon then twisted in the air to avoid one and then performing a barrel roll to avoid another. He then ducked and became streamlined as he managed to squeeze himself tightly to avoid two that nearly sandwiched him before performing a loop-the-loop as he avoided another and then dived down, spinning like a drill, looking like a tornado of red, black and gray. He plowed through the final Horn of Desolation attack and smirked as he crashed into Andramon and then bit down with his sharp teeth at the area where his bicep was. And then using amazing feats of strength lifted the horse Diva up and slammed him down on the ground before picking him up again and slamming him down on another field of machinery. Repeating this process a few more times before throwing the purple horse a good height, a few hundred feet into the air before flapping his powerful wings and meeting the large horse in the sky for all to see below at what he was about to do. Before his tail was raised and poised to strike. Bloody Tower. His tail shot off faster than anyone had ever seen. As the Diva fell from the sky, it looked like nothing happened, but then large holes of data fell from Andramon as all four of his limbs were impaled. Dorgrimon then roared and fired a small ball made of steel from his maw. The ball then began to expand and grow larger until it was at least 10 times the size of Dorgrimon himself. My final attack, Metal Meteor. The large metal sphere flew down from the sky, burning from the Frisiton with the air as it fell, making it literally red hot as it actually looked like a meteor. The attack then met Andramon's body and the Diva whinnied and screamed in pain as the body of Andramon was crushed and burnt before dispersing into red flakes of data that dissipated from view. Dorgrimon walked up to Naruto, holding a 3/4 of fully awake Padamon and bent down. Is Gato-chan alright? The ultimate level Digimon asked. Hi, Dorgrimon ... You were amazing out there. Good thing you digivolved in the nick of time, Naruto said, anger gone along with Kyubai's Yaokai cloak of a tailless Kitsune. Arigato, Naruto. Good to see Gato-chan is okay too, Dorgrimon responded with a smile before walking over to the others, towering over them. Oi, what did you guys think? I'm really strong now, right? Dorgrimon asked. Yeah, and you're about as big as War Growlman, Takato managed to say. After seeing a large red-furred dragon with a lot of pointy objects attached to each limb was kind of scary. Sugal. Everyone else cried out, including Renamon and Rika. Naruto-kun, she said, walking over to him as he came over. She then glared at him before slapping him in the face. This surprised, for as he was about to ask why, she suddenly captured his lips with her own. Naruto melted into the kiss and could feel what emotions she felt. Happiness at the victory, but sadness and a bit of betrayal. Rika-chan, he couldn't continue as Rika stopped him. I know you said you would risk your life for us, but I just got you, Naruto, and I don't want to lose you. Not now, not ever, she whispered the last part. Naruto's eyes widened. He didn't know Rika cared that much for him. He smirked before bending down slightly to reach her eye level. Gomen, Rika-chan. But until we defeat Syaman or whoever is behind this, I'm not going anywhere and I won't die, never. Not until my time comes, Naruto said with a fox grin on his face before pecking her on the lips, and then watched as Dorgrimon did digivolve back into Dorugrimon and then into Dorumon. Dorumon sighed as he fell to one knee. You okay there, buddy? Naruto asked the dragon Digimon. The ex-antibody holder smirked, panting slightly. Hi, I'm okay, Naruto. Just get Gato-chan, he said. He was suddenly tackled in a hug as Gatomon had woken up. In fact, she was awake just after he digivolved. Naruto was just too surprised to notice. You were amazing, you know that she spoke into his ears. His pointed ears twitched as her warm breath tickled the sensitive parts. His eyes widened. You saw? He asked. She nodded. I was awake just after I saw the light disappear just as you finished digivolving, the feline Digimon explained. Well, I did it all for you, just like you fought as Angemon for me, Dorumon said, smiling at his feline girlfriend. Gatomon smirked before kissing him on the cheek. And it's why I love you, Doru-kun. Never afraid to risk your life for your comrades. Looks like a trait from our tamer has rubbed off onto you, Gatomon said with a giggle. Dorumon nodded and chuckled, a small grin on his face. So it appears the group then rose to their feet, the Digimon having all returned to rookie level, and then headed back for their homes. Rika-chan, I thought we had a date this evening. Naruto asked his girlfriend. Oh yeah, well then after why don't we go now? She asked. The blonde nodded and smirked. I'll show you how to make ramen. My Aka-chan had a secret recipe so you can help me make it for lunch, the whisker marked Jinchuriki spoke. The two chuckled as they continued to walk with the rest of the group. Hypnos HQ. Yamaki, there have been reports of a giant horse on the news. What are doing to explain this so as not to cause any more panic? After all, many were at the scene of where the Digimon appeared. A man with a business suit, black sunglasses and black hair on a screen said. Another screen flashed on along with one other. Yeah, Yamaki, you gotta do something. People are already thinking that something's up, another man said. He was in between fat and skinny, but was still a bit big and wore a gray business suit and was nearly completely bald. I say let's go eat lunch to get our mind off of things before making a decision, a man who looked like he was playing golf said as he swung the 9-iron club. Nice swing, Tokishima, the man in the black business suit said as he watched the ball sail through the air. Arigato Kenshin, I've been working on it. So Yamaki, what are you going to do? They all asked the blonde leader of Hypnos. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it, Yamaki said as he paused. Just give me some time. It was you guys who created Hypnos in the first place. I'm the one who has to do all the hard work and create all the cover stories. Okay, but make sure you'll be able to submit it soon. No less than 3 days. Anymore and the public will think that the city will be under attack by real Digimon, the balding man said. Well, the wife's calling, gotta go. Riza out the screen with the balding man went black. Kenshin, Tokishima out. Good luck, Yamaki, they said, and their screens went black also, leaving Yamaki alone with Riley, Tally and the computers. Set up an excuse, make sure this occurs throughout the entirety of West Shinjuku. No screw-ups, okay Rilu, Tally. People will begin to suspect Digimon are real things, so we cannot allow this to happen as widespread chaos on a worldwide scale could occur. Keep Juggernaut X at the ready. Hi, now then. Yamaki turned away, playing with his lighter, and picked up a book labeled Digimon the Encyclopedia. Time to learn more about you digital monsters. Digital world. Oh confound it, Andramon has been defeated, at least they killed him. If he had come back to me empty-handed, his death would not have been so swift. Syaman grumbled to himself, the fires of his throne burning more intensely due to his anger, bordering on orange to blue as they got hotter. Syaman then looked at the copy of the real world's calendar. I guess I'll send out Vagran and Padamon next, and then after that, Kumbaramon. Ninjamon is much too rebellious and would only follow Azulongmon, even denying to do the actions of the other sovereigns. But Syaman paused as he looked out of the corner of his eye and into the dark corner of his lair. If he could have, Syaman would have smirked. Of course this is difficult as a bird. A small figure walked out of the dark corner and nodded. On the red scarf the small Digimon wore was a violet symbol, the digital hazard emblazoned on the red neckerchief. His leathery purple skin, pale face and shining green eyes graced the presence of the sovereign of the south. Or would it have been the other way? In just 3 months, the plan will come into action and all shall bow to the Digimon sovereigns, and the chaos will finally be able to be kept at bay once more, isn't that right? Impmon, Syaman asked with a hint of mirth in his burning golden eyes. Hi, Syaman-sama, Impmon replied, the digital hazard symbol seeming to pulse on the fabric, and the once deep green eyes became shrouded in sky blue, mixing to make an aquamarine color. Think what you wish, Syaman-sama, Luciman thought with a smirk. But this little puppet is one of the many pawns that I shall use to take my place as king of the digital world, and yet you don't even know that you are one yourself, foolish sovereign. The shopping district of the western area of Shinjuku was a very active area of the city. Since it was the shopping district, it was shown to be bustling with activity. Many people were rushing through the streets looking for something to buy for either friends, family, or maybe both. However, in a small gumball vending machine, a boy was aiming to get some Digimon cards from the Digimon card vending machine. He put in his 3 quarters before turning the knob and he got out his card pack. As he opened the pack, his once bright eyes dulled and his shoulders slumped. Oh man, that's a serious rip-off, the boy mumbled. As he was turning, a man wearing a dark blue hat and a yellow jacket walked past him and bumped into him. The boy's cards spilled from his hands, but as he was picking them up, he noticed there was another card amongst the pile. He turned around while picking up the card and noticed the retreating back of the yellow jacket-wearing man. Oi, Jacket-san, the boy yelled out, waving the card like it was a flag, but dropped his arm down as he noticed the man was not looking back. The boy looked at the card and noticed how it did absolutely nothing worthwhile that could help him in any card game he would play. Well, this is even more of a rip-off than I imagined, the boy growled as he stared at the card. However, as he shoved it into his pocket, he never noticed the card flashing to a blue color before returning to its disguised form. The 4 Tamers were walking down the streets talking to one another. So when do you think another Diva will appear? It's been 3 days, Takato asked. I don't know, maybe there are certain time intervals when the Devas can be sent out, Henry suggested. Naruto shook his head. Unlikely, otherwise there would be a pattern in the arrivals of each of the Diva, and judging by how the variations, I would say that Hypnos is being picky about which devas he chooses to send. He may be an old phoenix, but the bird knows the art of battle and strategy. He's planning on sending out a Diva sometime later, just planning on which one to send out, the blonde tamer inquired. How do you know that? From what you told us. You've only met Hypnos for only a few hours in the digital world, the other three tamers asked. Naruto looked at them and frowned as he thought of the sovereign of the south. As a shinobi, it is required that one be able to tell how an enemy is able to act upon a first glance, if not a second one. Given the few hours I had more than enough time to observe Hypnos. That look in his eyes when he defied Fanglongman to destroy myself and Dorumon also gave me the impression that he hates humans and anything he cannot understand and wished to eradicate it. Naruto said before sighing. There was a period of silence throughout the group before it was ruined by Takado's stomach growling. I guess I could use a little food, Takado said, scratching behind his head in embarrassment. Rika rolled her eyes. Goggle head, she insulted him. Those goggles around your head is keeping nutrients from reaching your brain. Hey. The four then went towards the nearest food parlor they could find, but Naruto paused and looked around, sniffing the air, his eyes flashing red and slightly bared his fangs. Something wrong, Naruto-kun? Rika asked her boyfriend. Naruto nodded and told Rika to stay with Takado and Henry. I'll be right back, don't worry. I just need to check something. He then stepped away from the redhead, giving her a kiss for reassurance. The feisty Nanaka was about to retaliate and demand answers when Naruto formed half the hand sign for Ram and then vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves before anyone could take notice. Oi, where's Naruto? Takado asked, holding 2 ice cream cones, one for himself and Naruto. Henry came out with 2 of his own, one for Rika and himself. He went somewhere, it's probably a Digimon, but he disappeared before I could follow him, Rika explained. Stupid Shunshin no Jutsu, she mumbled. Hey, don't worry, this is Naruto we're talking about. He can handle himself, even without Dorumon and Gatomon, Takado said. But then noticed Naruto's ice cream was melting. You know I should keep Naruto's ice cream from melting, and the only way to that is to keep it safeguarded in my stomach. Takado then began to eat away at Naruto's ice cream while the other 2 pre-teenage tamers' sweat dropped. Baka, they thought, with Naruto. Naruto appeared atop a building a few blocks away from where he had left Rika and the others. He closed his eyes and focused on his sense of hearing. After a while his eyes snapped open and he turned around just as a digital field opened up, surrounding himself and the roof of the building. Kyuubi, quick, put up a Genjutsu, Naruto declared. The great Biju nodded within Naruto's mindscape. I'm on it, Kit. Naruto eyes became red as Kyuubi temporarily took control. You would think he would say thank you for all this shot I've been doing to keep him from being noticed, Kyuubi thought. Naruto, Kyuubi flashed through hand signs and a Genjutsu was cast over the entire roof and a bit beyond to make whatever was there invisible, namely Naruto, the digital field and whatever Digimon was up there. Hehe, so you're my opponent? The Digimon asked as it appeared, a lowly human. Naruto took out his D-Arc and a holographic image of the Digimon appeared. It looked like a cream-colored ball with arms and legs, if you put it bluntly. It wore a mask made of red cloth with 2 eye holes through which orange eyes looked through. A small sword was strapped to its back while in its hand was a 4-starred shuriken. It wore fishnet armbands and spiked shell-like material on its shoulder areas. Let's see what we got here. Naruto whipped out Dorumon's reddish-violet D-Arc. Ninjamon. What the hell? He looks like a wannabe ninja to me. He is a supposed master at espionage and speedy yet powerful blows are used. His attacks are ninja knife throwing. Odd since he has a shuriken and fire and buken. Naruto read before pocketing the D-Arc. It seems the master does not see my abilities at a high enough level if he put me up against a lowly human. Well then, the digital hazard symbol was suddenly formed on the center of the shinobi Digimon's mask and his eyes became a mixture of sky blue and orange as the sky blue color bled into the originally orange irises. Oh great, another one of you master freaks, the blonde said, rolling his eyes before shifting into a fighting stance. Well listen here, your master and you are going down. Naruto drew 2 kunai knives from his hidden weapons pouch on his right shin. The kunai then glowed a light blue color as wind chakra was applied, making their blades sharper and more refined as well as lengthening the blade's reach. Ninjamon jumped into the air and took aim, pulling back his arm. Ninja knife throwing. The red mask wearing Digimon yelled and then hurled the star-shaped weapon. The shuriken spun as it sliced through the air, but Naruto smirked before raising one of his kunai, spinning around to build momentum before slashing downwards, the shuriken breaking apart in half before disappearing as red flakes of data. Naruto then threw his kunai, but the Digimon rolled beneath the flying wind-propelled, wind-enhanced projectiles, embedding themselves 3/4 through the concrete roof. The ninja Digimon growled before charging Naruto and aimed to punch him, but Naruto ducked underneath the blow before sidestepping a frontal kick to the face. He caught a fist aimed for his stomach before catching the other fist. Ninjamon growled and tried to kick Naruto in the groin, who had to let go in order to jump back and avoid being crippled. "Hey, no fair. That's a cheap shot, and besides you have nothing for me to kick you in," Naruto said. Ninjamon smirked and reached for his sword. "All one, too bad." Ninjamon then gripped the hilt as he saw Naruto's eyes flash to a crimson color, and in the blink of an eye before he could even draw his blade, Naruto was in his face. The blonde Jinchuriki's fist poised to strike. The whisker-cheeked blonde punched Ninjamon in the face, body before using the momentum from his punch to crouch down low and sweep his opponent's feet out from under him before striking the Digimon with an uppercut to the lack of a chin that sent the wannabe shinobi Digimon skyward. Naruto then leaped upwards and grabbed the Digimon's ankles before performing many front flips along with the help of gravity to slam Ninjamon into the concrete roof, forming a spiderweb of cracks from the impact. Naruto jumped away and snorted at the downed Digimon. "You're no shinobi. You can't even stand up to me. I am the true shinobi," Naruto said. Ninjamon stood to his feet and turned to Naruto, his sword drawn. "Don't insult my title as a ninja," Ninjamon roared before his blade erupted into flames. Fire and buchan, yellow, orange and red mixed to form a blaze that would burn through most things, flesh and bone being one of them. Naruto quickly ducked beneath a horizontal slice, aimed to take off his head. The searing heat made him slightly sweat from the proximity to the flames. He quickly sidestepped a downward vertical slash. Ninjamon's eye twitched before continuing with an onslaught of attacks. First he slashed downwards in a diagonal slash before going into a horizontal slash to try and cleave Naruto in half before going into an upward vertical slash, and then reversing to go downwards before going into an upward diagonal slash. Naruto avoided them all and jumped back as Ninjamon jumped into the air, his flaming blade behind him as he flipped in the air, scattering embers through to the wind before slamming his blade down into the concrete of the roof, causing a small blast of fire to erupt from the area of contact. Ninjamon growled in anger. His digital hazard sign seemed to glow as his negative emotion of anger and hatred flowed through him. This was increased as Naruto appeared in front of him with a burst of speed and formed hand signs. Jinten, Kurasha no Jinryu, Speed Style, Speed Dragon Crusher. Naruto performed the combo used with his father's Kekai Genkai as his speed dramatically increased as Naruto balanced on his right hand and right foot before kicking upwards with his left to hit Ninjamon in his hand, causing the burning blade to fly out of his hands, and the loss of contact with its wielder caused the sword's blade to become regular steel as the flames vanished. Naruto then recovered to stand up on his 2 feet and performed a right hook, nailing Ninjamon in the cheek before landing a left hook to the opposite cheek. Naruto then twisted on his heel and slammed a backhand to the face before twisting again and crashing his heel into the Digimon's back, sending him to one knee, and then twisting again to grab Ninjamon by the mask and heaving him over his shoulder and into the ground. The force of the throw caused Ninjamon to bounce back up into the air to allow Naruto to land another punch with his right followed by a second punch with his left. While Ninjamon was relatively stationary from the impacts, Naruto knelt down and formed his famed cross-shaped hand sign, Kagebenshin no Jutsu. He cried out as a plume of smoke appeared above his and a carbon copy of himself appeared out of the smoke with a poof sound, swinging back its leg and crashing it into the face of Ninjamon in a sweeping upward curve that, as a result, sent the Digimon upwards. Naruto jumped up and lashed out with a double sweeping upwards kick just like his clone as it puffed out of existence before clasping his hands together and slamming it down on the head of the Digimon. Ninjamon let out a cry of pain before slamming into the ground, and then Naruto's descending fist, powered by the force of gravity, impacted with what would be considered Ninjamon's stomach. Naruto stood up to his full height and glared at the ninja Digimon. "You will never amount to the caliber of being a true shinobi," Ninjamon, Naruto growled. "Don't flaunt around that title like it's a flag that could be swept away by the winds." Ninja Naruto turned and shoved his hands in his pockets. "Pathetic." Ninjamon gritted his teeth, and then the digital hazard mark on his mask glowed brightly and pulsed before a dark aura of shadow outlined the Digimon. Orange and blue irises stared at Naruto's retreating back before the Digimon stood to his feet and held an arm. The sword that was previously embedded in the concrete roof was yanked out by some invisible force before it was thrown through the air, and Ninjamon soon held his blade in his grip once more. Naruto turned around once he heard the sound of a blade slicing the air, and his sapphire eyes widened, and it was only years of training and experience, along with dumb luck and reflexes that allowed Naruto to quickly grab a kunai from his weapons pouch, coat it with wind chakra and block the sword that nearly cleaved in half, all in the span of 2 seconds. Cheater, you attacked me while my back was turned, Naruto whined before redirecting the sword and then spinning to fire a roundhouse kick that sent Ninjamon skidding backwards, but held his ground. The master has granted me more of his power. I will prevail and you will fall by our combined might, the shinobi Digimon said. The blonde rolled his eyes. I've beaten every single one of you guys that's come here into the real world. You won't prevail over my dead body, Naruto roared. Ninjamon then flicked his wrist and then the sword twitched in his grip, and Naruto narrowed his eyes as he saw that instead of bright orange, yellow and red mixing into the plume of flame from earlier, the flames were now a mixture of purple and black. Shadow fire and Buchan, Ninjamon said in a dark tone of voice before slashing the air, and a crescent of fire flew through the air. Distortions in the air formed around Naruto's kunai as he channeled pure wind chakra around his blades and slashed. The winds diverted the flames, while also the stray embers allowed Naruto's kunai to be surrounded by an aura of fire. The flaming, ebony blade was thrown at Ninjamon, who held up his shadow fire-consumed sword and blocked it, sending the knife clattering to the ground before slashing downwards and impacting it with the ground. A burst of shadow fire rocketed across the roof of the building they were fighting on, scorching an outline of its path as it rocketed towards the blonde shinobi. Naruto jumped over the attack and charged chakra into his leg as he brought down his leg in an axe kick. But the Digimon held up his sword and blocked the attack. If it weren't for the chakra coating though, Naruto would have burnt his leg off. Okay, so you wanna play rough? Let's play rough, Naruto growled. Ninjamon chuckled before stabbing his blade into the ground. Cage Kyuendon. A blast of fire erupted like a pillar from the sword before taking the form of a purple-black colored dragon with glowing green eyes. It gnashed its teeth of dark fire together before releasing a roar and charged. Naruto flashed through hand signs and took a deep breath. Katen, Kyuendon no Jutsu. He yelled as a reddish-orange fire dragon was released from his mouth. Naruto's fire dragon glared with glowing yellow eyes at its adversary of dark fire ad charged. Naruto then flashed through more hand signs. Futen Daidappa. A great gust of wind flew from his outstretched hands as it infused with the flames of the Kyuendon, making it stronger as it clashed with the Cage Ryuendon. The two dragons roared as they fought before they dispersed each other in an explosion of purple and orange flames. A smoke cloud resulted, and Naruto, using the smoke as a cover, plowed through it and slammed his shoulder into Ninjamon's face, body sending them both to the ground. Naruto then held down Ninjamon, who cracked open his closed eyes and saw Naruto, his right arm cocked back with a fully formed rasengan ready to shred him to data flakes. Now tell me, who is the master before I shred you to data, Naruto growled. Ninjamon chuckled as the digital hazard symbol on his mask glowed brightly, and then sky blue completely filled his irises. His eyes closed and then snapped open. Well, very good, Naruto-kun. Another one of my minions you have taken down. The voice of the blue card spoke. Naruto growled. You, that voice from the blue card, who are you? Naruto asked, his eyes flashing red. Now Naruto-kun, no need to get violent after all. I have the answer to the question you ask, the voice said through Ninjamon's mouth. The possessed Digimon chuckled. Tell me now, Naruto, then press the rasengan a bit closer or I'll shred your face. Naruto-kun, you do know I am possessing this poor soul. If you kill him, there's no harm done to me other than me just leaving this place until I am able to find another host body. Answer me, damn it. Naruto yelled, and then in a fit of anger shredded Ninjamon's arm off. Ninjamon screamed, but then released a creepy grin as the voice of the blue card filled its vocal cords. You want answers? Fine, my name has always been in your sight, my dear blonde tamer. It has always been with you, after I am the fallen angel. Well, time to go. The voice left the body of Ninjamon, and then the digital hazard sign began to pulse, and Naruto quickly picked up Ninjamon's body and slammed the rasengan into it, sending the Digimon flying away. Before it was consumed by a dark void that swallowed it up before red flakes of data flew out from the void and then dispersing into nothing. He is the fallen angel that makes no. Naruto's eyes widened as he took out his Digimon card deck and looked through it until he pulled out one card. The holofoil Digimon card he got from the Digimon Gaming Factory during the field trip. The Fallen Angel Digimon card. A picture of a young humanoid-looking Digimon with pale skin, sky blue eyes, and platinum blonde hair. 8 angel wings made of dove feathers were attached to the Digimon's back, with 2 smaller ones poking through the blonde locks of the Digimon's hair. A white tunic covered most of its body except for the left side, which is where an odd arrangement of purple-colored tattoos stretched from the left pectoral all the way down to the end of its rib cage and along the left arm, which lead to form a digital hazard sign on the back of his left hand. Strange, that symbol wasn't on its hand before when I looked at the card before ... Wait a minute, let me read the description. Naruto looked down at the little box which held the card's effect and read through it. His eyes widened. The card Fallen Angel is used by any Fallen Angel Digimon and is most powerful when used with Digimon such as Divimon. It allows these types of Digimon to double their power. The power of this card can also be used to triple the attack power of a chosen Digimon as you have the card. Syaman, the Fallen Angel Digimon. Naruto read those last 5 words. The name seemed to strike a chord in him and he looked at the picture of the seemingly innocent little boy that was a Digimon. The picture seemed to wink at him. "You got it," Syaman's voice whispered in his ear. Naruto turned around but saw no one there. He quickly put away his deck and went to go back to the others. I need to talk to Dorumon and Padamon with this. After he used Shunshin and vanished in a swirl of leaves and wind. With the Tamers, Henry, Takato and Rika were walking around town after eating their ice cream and Naruto was still not around. "Naruto's taking a really long time to come back," Takato said. "I wonder what's wrong." Henry wondered. Rika remained silent. But then as they were walking, a boy ran into Henry and sent both of them to the ground. "Oh, Gomen Nasai," the boy said, standing up. Henry shook his head before rising to his feet, grabbing a card that he saw on the ground. "No problem. It was an accident. Is this yours?" Henry asked, handing the card to the boy. The boy stepped away from the card like it was the plague or something. "Nah, you can have it. I got this card from one of my friends. If you want to find him, he's in the park right now. And besides, it's useless," the boy said and then left. Henry looked at the card and noticed it had no description, just the Digimon card game covers on both the back and front. "I wonder what's wrong with this card?" Rika asked, swiping it from the Asian tamer. She looked at it, holding it up to the light of the sun to see if it was fake. The card was genuine, but maybe we should check out that kid's friend. Where did he say he was? Takato asked. "Shinjuku Park, come on," Henry said, and the three headed towards the park. There they found the boy's friends, who pointed out he traded the card with another guy who always plays Digimon with his friends underneath the bridge near the river. At the river, the same boy told them he found the boy, named Toshiro, who was actually the guy's friend and therefore had his address. Who traded him the card first was playing a game in the shopping district. By the time this all transpired, the day already over and sundown was on its last leg. They then used the information they used from the last guy to find Toshiro in a house near the shopping district. "Toshiro, so where did you get this card?" "Well, actually, I never really got it. Some guy bumped into me and dropped it. When I tried to call him out to give him back, he was gone. But I remember he was wearing a yellow jacket," Toshiro told them. The three nodded and headed back to their homes. "So, a man wearing a yellow jacket," Henry thought as he looked at the card. However, as he was looking at it, the card let off a soft blue glow before changing into a blue card. Yellow D and pixelated Digimon and all. Henry's eyes widened as he looked at it, turning it over as he looked it over. This is that card that Naruto and Takato used to digivolve their Digimon to ultimate," Henry realized. "But don't I have?" Henry looked through his deck and found his blue card was nowhere to be found. "But I thought I had one when I got Terrierman. Where is it?" Henry looked through his deck all the way home and found no trace of it. "Maybe I should have Adu-san look at this," Henry said, and then entered his apartment. Adu-san. Henry walked up to his father, Janyu Wang, who was on the couch watching television. "Hi, Henry," Janyu said. I was wondering if maybe you could look at something for me," Henry asked. Janyu blinked and nodded his head. "Sure thing. Let's go to your room," he said, and then he and his son walked into the room before sitting down in front of Henry's computer. "Okay, let's see this thing." Henry took out the blue card and handed it to his father, who placed it into the computer's hard drive scanner. A three-dimensional wave motion made of green data formed on the screen along with randomly appearing 1 and 0s in rapid succession until it looked like the screen was covered with the two numbers that made up computer language. Janyu's eyes widened. "Nanny, impossible." What's impossible?" Adu-san. Henry asked. Janyu shook his head and looked over the screen again. "Oh, it's nothing, Henry. Just an ordinary card, nothing fancy. Now go on," Janyu told his son. The blue-haired boy nodded, but looked oddly at his father before leaving. Janyu sighed as he stared at the code written on the screen. Suddenly the letters SHIBUMI appeared on screen before vanishing as if they were never there. "Shibumi, what is your code doing in that card?" Janyu asked himself as if he were talking to his old friend. "I thought you were done with the Digimon project." Then the Asian computer programmer remembered what happened earlier today. Flashback. Janyu was walking down the street. He had just finished working and was going home when a man wearing a black business suit, dark sunglasses that masked his eyes and dirty colored blonde hair walked up to him. "Are you Janyu Wang?" A Tao of the Monster Makers in 1984, the man asked. Janyu glared at the man. Who are you and why are you here? My name is Mitsuo Yamaki. I am here to tell you that one of your old teammates on the Digimon project refused to quit after you all pulled the plug on the project, Yamaki said. Nani? Janyu looked confused as he ran his hand through his hair. What do you mean? I have told you enough for you to know just what's going on, Yamaki said as he pocketed the cigarette lighter in his hand. Good day to you, Janyu-san, and Yamaki turned. A few people walked in front of where he was walking, and when the people cleared out, the blonde head of Hypnos was gone without a trace. Janyu took off his glasses, cleaned and put them back on to check to see if he was dreaming or not, and then pinched himself, in which he felt pain. Not good, this wasn't a dream. End flashback. Why Shibumi? Janyu thought before standing up as his wife called the family for dinner. Naruto's apartment. Naruto's mind was racing. He was barely aware of when he fumbled for the key in his pocket, opened the door and stumbled into the apartment room. Dorumon and Gatomon were sitting down on the floor playing a game of Go Fish when their blonde tamer walked in. Oi, Naruto, you're Naruto. The two Digimon noticed the serious and calculating look on the shinobi's face, and he got like that when he was thinking really hard about something or when he is fighting, and since they weren't in a battle, it was obviously the former. I need to ask you two something, Naruto said. The three were suddenly in front of the computer desk, Naruto sitting in the chair swiveling as Naruto looked down at his two partners. Okay, what did you want to ask us? Gatomon asked, scratching her ears. What do you two know about a Digimon by the name of Syaman? He asked. Gatomon's and Dorumon's eyes widened at the name before looking at each other. They were having a mental conversation that ended in a few seconds before they turned back to their tamer. Don't know, never heard of him, the two said, shaking their heads. Naruto growled at them, his eyes flashing crimson. You two, this is no time to be keeping secrets from me. Who is Syaman? He gritted his teeth together as he looked at the two. Dorumon and Gatomon returned the gaze with equal fierceness. We told you we never heard of him, Dorumon said. Lies, he roared. The blonde stood to his feet, causing the two Digimon to take a step back in surprise. Dorumon, Gatomon, I know Syaman is real. He is the so-called master who used that weird purple symbol to manipulate Raidramon, Icedivimon, Drimachmon, and the other Digimon we faced before who bore that strange symbol. Now tell me before I make you. Naruto flexed his fingers as chakra and killing intent flared, but was directed towards them in order for the neighbors to be unaffected by the sudden feeling. Dorumon and Gatomon began to slightly sweat, and an invisible force that seemed to multiply the force of gravity. Naruto was extremely serious about this and used killing intent against them only when they ate his ramen or when he needed something that they wouldn't give to him. Alright, fine. We'll tell you, Gatomon said. Yeah, just turn off the killing intent and the chakra works, will ya? Dorumon said. The dragon and cat Digimon sighed in relief as the invisible pressure force was released from their bodies, allowing a normal amount of the force of gravity to affect them. The two Digimon then followed their tamer's movements as he sat back down on the leather chair, his blue eyes intense as he stared at them, and his arms folded in front of his chest. So, what do you want to know? Gatomon asked. The next day, Naruto met up with the other tamers as he heard the news about the strange blue card that Henry received from some random kid. So what do we do? Naruto asked. The Digimon were with them in the shed where Gilman was in Shinjuku Park. Well, actually we don't know, Takato said. I say, we don't do anything and go relax for a while. We haven't taken a break in so long. I mean, for the past few days we've had our guard up. Maybe we can let it down for a few hours or for the day, Henry suggested. Naruto looked at Rika, who nodded. Well then, let's go, the blonde Shinboy tamer said with a foxy grin. Really? The Jinchuriki nodded as Takato and Henry broke out into grins. Rika just smirked before latching her arm onto Naruto's and dragged him, with Takato and Henry in tow, towards the shopping district. Gilman, Terrierman, and the others following right behind them. West Shinjuku Shopping District. The four tamers, Dorumon, Gatomon, and Gilman were walking through the Shinjuku shopping district. People were really gullible into thinking Gilman was just some guy in a Digimon costume due to the popularity of the Digimon franchise, or at least that's what the people thought. They also bought the excuse that Dorumon, who was being held by Naruto, and Gatomon by Rika along with Terrierman, into being just large stuffed toys. Well, they thought that about Gatomon and Dorumon. Terrierman was extremely believable in being a stuffed Digimon toy. As the group walked through the mob of people, Renamon observed the scene from the rooftops. Something's not right, she said to herself, her glacial blue eyes scanning the area, but she found nothing. Must be overreacting, she sighed, rubbing her temples. Oi Minna, look over here, Takato exclaimed as he put his face up against a glass window. What, Takato? The other Tamers and their Digimon, minus Renamon, asked. Look, a new Digimon is going to be brought out soon, Digimon World. Dawn and Digimon World. Dusk, Takato exclaimed, stars in his eyes. Naruto thought for a while. He had heard this name before, then it hit him. Oh right, he said, snapping his finger in a realization. Those are the new games Kari-san is making. Huh? Everyone looked at Naruto oddly. Who is Kari-san? Oh right, you guys are in a different class. Right, anyways, Kari Ishida, who I call Kari-san, is the assistant manager at the Digimon Gaming Factory. My class went there on a field trip a few months ago. She showed us how the games were being programmed, how long it took to actually get one string of code for the game, etc. And she mentioned the name of the games, which were those names over there, Dawn and Dusk, Naruto explained. You got to go to the Digimon Gaming Factory, they exclaimed. Yeah, this was before Gatomon was here, Dorumon and I went into the digital world. Well, the main hard drive of the computer when a Diaboromon tried to absorb all the data in the factory, Naruto said. Whoa, back up, start from the beginning, Rika said. Naruto sighed. He then began to explain from the beginning about how he was on the bus, was challenged to play a game of Digimon with his friend and classmate Kyoshi with the use of the Omni Force. All delete card, how that they toured the factory, the duel between himself and Kyoshi which he was proud to say he won. Then the computers starting to go haywire, and flashing a symbol on the screen in a weird purple color. What did the symbol look like? Rika asked. It looked like that, Naruto said, pointing at Gilman's chest where the digital hazard symbol was. Gilman looked down at his chest and pointed at the irregular biohazard symbol. Then out of nowhere, just like every other time, Calumen flew down from the buildings out of nowhere and landed on Naruto's head. Naruto, fun time. Calumen, where did you come from? The sky, the Digimon responded cutely with a big smile as his ears retracted and expanded periodically. I see, but the others thought with a sweat drop, where does he go? They all stared at Calumen for a while before going back to Naruto. So Naruto, what happened after that? Henry asked. Naruto then explained about how he used chakra to see the computer's screen and managed to see minute images of Diaboromon being chased by Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon. The big battle that ensued, which finally led to the DNA digivolution of the two mega levels to Omnimon, and they won. Sugoi was all that could be said. Doru-kun, did you really see the Royal Knight? Gatomon asked. Dorumon smirked. Of course, Gato-chan the Dragon Digimon said with a smirk. The day was pretty much a bit normal after that. A few stores in which they did some window shopping, eating food and other things. However, the good times ended when everyone's D-Arc started beeping loudly. Fuso, why is there a Digimon now? Naruto groaned. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, we can beat them easily, Rika assured her shinobi boyfriend. A digital field then sprung up, and out of a vortex in the sky 2 pixelated forms dropped down before synthesizing proteins to become solid. The first one looked like a huge black ox, except more or less like a centaur. Its lower half was that of an ox, orange tattoo-like marking emblazoned on each of its 4 powerful leg muscles, while its upper half was that of a human, but its head was that of an ox. It wore red and gold armor on its chest and arms. Red and gold metallic bands were worn around each of its ankles, and attached to the waist area of its human half were 2 scabbards where 2 large swords were sheathed. 2 long golden-colored horns sprouted from its head, and a ring was pierced in its nose. The second was like its accomplice, a centaur-like Digimon except in the form of a ram. Fluffy white fur covered the most of its body except for its hooves and face, which were a chocolate brown color. Purple and gold armor was worn around its chest and arms. A red scarf was worn around its neck, and a belt around its waist area of the human-like half of the Digimon's body. Strapped onto its back was a crossbow. 2 long, curved purple lavender horns came from its head. It was obvious that both of these Digimon were Diva. The Sovereign told us to be careful of some pathetic humans with Digimon, the ox, Diva said. The ram bleated in what seemed to be exasperation. Oh please, Jukuyaman-sama is just overreacting. The others who lost to those humans were just weak, the ram, Diva said. The two then began to run around the city and began to eat every single electronic device they could find. Why are they eating all the electronic equipment? Rika asked. Naruto looked at them and then noticed their forms flickering before going back to being solid as they ate. I see, Rika-chan. It's because it's difficult for them to remain in a physical form here, so they need something to stabilize them. By eating all this equipment they will be kept stable, Naruto explained. Then he drew out Gatomon's D-Arc and scanned the 2 Digimon, their images appearing on the screen. The first image was of the ox Diva. Okay, let's see. Guys, we have Vagran, who is the ox. He is a follower of Ebonwoman and is an ultimate level Digimon. His attacks are Terra Blade and Bao Giant. Then the image of the Ram Diva appeared. Next we have Padamon, another ultimate level. She is a follower of Syaman and attacks are Bao Gong, Thunder Stomp and Lullaby Bleat. Naruto pocketed Gatomon's D-Arc before taking out the reddish-purple colored D-Arc that was for Dorumon. Renamon then phased into existence next to Rika, a few feet away from Vagran who, like Padamon, had just eaten his fill. He scanned the KitsuneDragon's body and smirked. "Ah, a Renamon. You truly are a beautiful little Digimon, aren't you?" The Ox Diva said. "Flattery will get you nowhere. Renamon, why don't you join our cause? Leave that pathetic excuse for a human. Follow the Sovereign One. I shall tell you of our plans." Vagran persuaded. But Renamon stayed firm, her icy blue eyes holding a fire that would burn the Diva to ashes had it been materialized. "No way in hell, Diva. I know of that Sovereign's plans. Syaman wants the light of Digivolution. The catalyst. He wants Calumen," Renamon said. Vagran growled. "How did you?" Vagran paused as he looked through the Tamers' ranks and then spotted him. The blonde Tamer and the purple-furred dragon that held the X-Anet body. You told them of our plans." Vagran bellowed out at Naruto. Padamon bleated before trotting up next to her accomplice. "Oh, just up, Vagran. Let's just kill these humans. And their Digimon. They have betrayed us by killing the many Diva that have come here and for siding with those humans." She spat the word humans like it was acid on her tongue, as if it burned her very digicore. Padamon reared up onto her hind legs and brought down her front hooves with a mighty crash. Thunder Stomp. A large shockwave flew out from her hooves and caused the ground to crack as the force caused the Digimon and their Tamers to lose balance. Vagran drew one of his Bao Giant from its sheath, wielding the treasure sword like a master. But then Renamon appeared in front of him, arms crossed in front of her chest as a white circle of energy formed in front of her. Diamond-shaped particles of energy and light materialized as Renamon threw out her arms. Diamond Storm. Vagran watched as the diamonds fell like hail and snorted before simply holding up the drawn Bao Giant and deflected every single one of the diamond shards before slashing at the Kitsune. Renamon quickly dropped down and let gravity allow her to avoid the horizontal strike from the treasure blade before rolling backwards and bouncing to her feet. Poetry in motion. Vagran complimented her. Renamon rolled her eyes. This guy just wouldn't give up in this crush he immediately had on her. "Rika, digivolving time." "Hi," Rika responded. The other Tamers followed suit as they took out their D-Arcs to digivolve the rookie Digimon to champion level. Digimodify, Digivolution activate. The Tamers swiped the card through their D-Arcs as the card was scanned and the abilities transferred to the Digimon. Digivolution. Dorumon Digivolve 2, Renamon Digivolve 2, Gilman Digivolve 2, Terrierman Digivolve 2. Each of the 4 rookie Digimon was shrouded in an egg of swirling data, their fur, skin peeling off before reattaching to form their champion-level forms. The eggs then exploded as their champion-leveled forms were made. Dorgrimon, Hypnos, Growlmon, Gargomon, the 4 newly formed and 1 already formed, champion-level Digimon stood front and center ready to fight. "Charge," Gatomon cried. Growlmon and Gargomon took Padamon while Dorgrimon, Hypnos and Gatomon took Vagran. Growlmon ran to headbutt the Ram Diva, but Padamon quickly stepped back before turning around and kicking with her back hooves, sending Growlmon to the ground before raising her hooves and slamming them down. Thunder Stomp. The resulting shockwave caused pain to rack through Growlmon's body as the force caused him to go into the air. Padamon then readied her crossbow and fired arrows that materialized out of thin air. "Thou Gong," she bleated. 3 arrows flew towards the reptile Digimon, but Gargomon quickly took to the skies and jumped before firing his Gatling guns. "Gargo Laser." Gargomon yelled as multiple laser pellets flew from the gun barrels and clashed with the arrows, sending them off course and impaling the ground. Gargomon then dropped down on the ground with Growlmon, who both landed on their feet before charging forwards. Gargomon then jumped into the air and spun to build momentum and brought down one of the emerald green glowing Gatling gun arms. Bunny Pummel. The gun struck home, nailing the Ram Diva in the face before Growlmon appeared beneath the Diva and his elbow blades glowed blue and sparked with energy before slicing upwards. "Dragon Slash," he cried. The reptilian Digimon struck with one blade to the chin before following up with the other one and sent Padamon skyward. Growlmon then jumped and flipped in the air and brought down his thick heavy tail onto Padamon's face, sending her into the ground. "Gargo Laser." Gargomon yelled before firing a barrage of bullets at the Ram Diva, causing a large smoke cloud to erupt where the fallen Diva lay. "Do you think we got her?" Growlmon asked. "I think so, buddy," Gargomon said happily. But that happiness was short-lived as Padamon stood there with barely any form of the attacks being effective. the only evidence being a few dust spots on her white coat and a bruise on her face from where Growlmon's dragon slash and tail slam had damaged her. That kind of hurt the ram diva bleeded before charging. Gargomon fired bullets while Growlmon used Pyro Blaster to fire a few large fireballs. The attacks were avoided as Padamon dodged to the side and jumped over most of the attacks before firing her crossbow. 2 arrows nailed Growlmon in the chest that caused the Digimon to roar in pain, and thus his virus nature was brought out. His pupils dilated before he jumped over Gargomon and clashed with Padamon. The 2 Digimon wrestled, but then Growlmon chuckled much to the surprise of Padamon as he opened his jaws and a ball of flame formed. Pyro Blaster, the large fireball fired at point blank in Padamon's face, sending the ultimate level Digimon skidding backwards. But then she recovered quickly and bleated loudly. Lullaby bleat. The diva cried out. Growlmon suddenly felt drowsy, and before he fell asleep he fired one last Pyro Blaster that crashed into her chest armor, not harming her, but managed to scorch her armor. She then turned to Gargomon and charged. Gargomon ran away before coming up to the wall of a building and managed to somehow run up the wall before backflipping, and while in the air above a charging Padamon, fired a barrage of green laser bullets that scored home, but did no damage since the armor deflected most of them. Gargomon then slammed a glowing green Gatling gun against the back of Padamon's head before jumping back. Padamon clutched her head with her humanoid hands and glared at the trigger-happy bunny Digimon. "You'll pay for that," she growled. She held her bow and fired a few arrows. Gargomon dodged them all, but then while he was dodging, Padamon used that time to rush him, slamming her shoulder into the rabbit Digimon's stomach before he crashed into a wall. She then ran up to him and picked him up before slamming him into the ground multiple times, and then threw him away before rearing up and slamming down her front hooves. Thunder stomp. She bleated and the shockwave slammed into Gargomon, who was sent into a car. The window shattered upon impact and the car was extremely dented, leaving an imprint of the Digimon's back. Gargomon struggled to get up, but then froze as Padamon stood above him, treasure bow at the ready. Henry gasped before drawing a card. Digimodify, Holy Barrier. A golden shield formed in front of the bunny Digimon and protected him as 5 arrows flew at him from point blank, but were deflected from the barrier. Then for more protection, Henry drew another card and slashed it through his D-Arc. Digimodify, Rock Shield Petrification. Gargomon was suddenly turned to stone, trapped in a petrified state. The holy barrier was beginning to crack and Henry stared in shock as his partner was about to be trampled to rubble. Dorgrimon and Kyubimon ran towards Vagran, who smirked, making a come motion with his humanoid hands. He swung his blades, but the 3 Digimon dodged it before Gatomon jumped off of Dorgrimon's head and her paw, foot glowed white. "Nico kick," she cried, slamming it into the Ox Diva's snout. Vagran snorted in disgust and annoyance before batting away the feline Digimon like a fly. Gatomon flipped in the air before skidding along the ground and looked up in time to see Dorgrimon slam his body full force against the diva. Vagran grunted as he skidded across the ground before Kyubimon spun in the air, coating her body in sapphire flames. "Dragon Wheel." The 9-tailed fox Digimon cried out. The flames flew before morphing into the shape of a dragon. Vagran growled before drawing his other bow giant and slashed the dragon in 2 before spinning both blades in his hands and stabbing them into the ground. A large amount of earth and rubble flew out as a large gap in the earth formed. Terra Blade. The Ox Diva yelled before slashing the flying rubble in the air. The rocks flew through the air and impacted with the 2 large champion-level Digimon. However, Vagran was too preoccupied with them to see Gatomon's attack. Lightning Paw. The glowing white paw slammed into Vadramon's cheek, causing his head to turn. Gatomon swiftly rotated her body and her foot. Paw slammed into Vadramon's face as a powerful blow that sent his head snapping backwards in the form of a Nico kick. She then grabbed onto his leathery skin, her claws digging into it before releasing a rapid flurry of Nico kicks before backflipping off of him. Digimodify, Flamedramon activate. Naruto yelled as he powered up Gatomon. Digimodify, Saberleomon activate. He added the other card. Gatomon was suddenly encased in flames as she rocketed towards Vagran using Flamedramon's signature attack, Fire Rocket, while her claws glowed orange as Saberleomon's attack, Howling Crusher, took effect. The flaming feline crashed into Vadramon's side, causing a large crack to form on his chest armor, and the impact sent him skidding backwards and toppling to the ground as he tripped over a car. Dorgrimon then grabbed Kyubimon, who was sent upwards. Kyubimon spread out her tails as 9 ghostly blue fireball ignited the tips of her 9 tails. Foxtail Inferno, she yelled. Digimodify, Greymon's Nova Blast. Rika yelled as Kyubimon released a large orange ball of flame that mixed with the Foxtail Inferno. The fire attack swirled into one large fireball as Dorgrimon threw Kyubimon, who then used Dragon Wheel, and a large blue fire dragon formed that mixed with the other flames to form a white fire blast in the form of a dragon. Vagran's eyes widened before he grabbed his twin swords and spun them like windmill blades as the swords impacted with the fire blast and began to divert its literally white-hot flame. After the flames dissipated, Vagran stopped, but that was a mistake, for as his vision was greeted with the sight of Dorgrimon's maw. Power metal, the electrically charged sphere was launched and impacted with the ox Diva's stomach and sent him skidding backwards as his stomach was fried by the electricity and was probably broken in a few places from the metal orb's impact with him. Vagran snorted and his vision went red as his anger peaked. He then thundered across the streets, waving his blades at speeds that only a master swordsman could be able to achieve. The tamer Digimon avoided the attacks, but Vagran remained on the offensive. Padamon tried to break through, but the flat side of a bow giant slapped her into a wall, leaving her stuck a good 4 feet into the brick wall. Padamon's eyes remained half open as she tried to remain conscious. Then Dorgrimon was tackled into a truck before a blade nearly chopped his head off had he not weaved out of the way. He then sprung up and bit down on the ox Diva's neck and held on before flapping his wings and taking to the skies. Vagran punched the dragon in many places that were surely painful to be hit in, but his jaws refused to slacken. Any tighter and his jaws might snap off. Dorgrimon smirked before dropping the large black ox and watched as he plummeted towards a waiting Kyubimon. Foxtail Inferno. The golden fox howled as the 9 ghostly fireballs spiraled in the air and struck with terrific force that resulted in an explosion. Vagran fell a bit to the left of her, the groaning of pain indicating that they had won. Vagran chuckled. "You are truly strong, my dear. Beautiful yet deadly. Too bad I will have to kill you." Vagran wheezes as he quickly, to everyone's surprise, stood to his feet. He then kicked Kyubimon in the face before grabbing her by her throat and slammed her into the ground multiple times and then swinging her into a car. After that he threw Kyubimon into the air before aiming to cleave her into 3 as his blades poised to slash her body apart. Rika, Naruto, Dorugrimon and Padamon watched in horror. They were too far away to do anything, and Naruto, even though he had the speed to save the fox, he wasn't sure if he would be able to dodge the blow himself after saving her. Kalluman watched as Gargamon's holy barrier was broken, and then Padramon stomped on the petrified bunny. The stone shield began to crack, revealing digital flesh. Gargamon was going to be crushed at this rate. Kalluman's wide green eyes watched as Kyubimon was also about to be sliced and gutted like a fish. Something then snapped inside of him and a large crimson light shot out into the sky. Henry and Rika then noticed a soft blue glow coming from their card decks. "The blue card," they exclaimed. The two gulped, one out of fear, the other out of the expectations of what might occur should the blue card be used. They then slashed the cards through the slits of their D-arcs. Digimodify, Matrix Digivolution activate. A blue light shot out of the screens of their D-arcs and into the sky where Kalluman's Digivolution light had been fired before mixing, and then splitting into 2 separate beams of light. The 2 beams hit Gargamon and Kyubimon respectively. Padramon was forced to step back from the light's intensity and Vagramon had to stop his slashing motion due to the same reasons as Padramon. Matrix Digivolution. Gargamon Matrix Digivolve 2. Gargamon fired a few glowing bullets as he was suddenly surrounded by a glowing field of data. His body then disintegrated into data before reforming. Gargamon grew taller, skinnier, and his leg muscles more lean and muscular. Then the bullets he fired before encircled him before forming armor. 2 green and silver armor-like boots were worn on its feet. The green orb-like armor covered its lower abdominal muscles, groin, and a part of the upper thigh area. The red triangle from Gargamon's forehead was placed in the center of the orb-shaped armor. Black arm stockings covered his arms as 2 large missile launchers covered his hands and lower arms. 3 crimson points came out of the rim of the launchers in a triangle formation, making it look like claws. 2 large shoulder pads, made of green and silver armor, were formed. His ears were extended and covered in green armor that was tipped red. Its chest and head, except for the face area, was covered with green and silver armor also. A long, sharp horn formed from the forehead area of the armor plating. Finally, a large missile launcher-looking weapon was attached to its back. The Digimon's large blue eyes glowed before a mouth covering formed from the head armor. Rapidmon, Matrix Digivolution. Kyubimon Matrix Digivolve 2. Kyubimon was encircled by blue flames and a shining white light. Her form suddenly lengthened and became more human-looking. Violet pants formed on her legs as a white, long-sleeved robe-like shirt formed on her upper body that covered her large hand-like paws. A black hat was worn on the fox Digimon's head, with violet streams of cloth coming down from it. A yin-yang symbol lay in the center of the shirt and a belt was worn around the waist that attached a large paintbrush to her back. On a long piece of cloth that extended from the shirt from the stomach area to the knees, a golden Sanskrit word was written, meaning truth. The large blonde, white-tipped tail waved behind her. She spun on large feet-like paws before allowing her hands to be seen and making the Japanese hand sign for ram. Tamers, the 2 ultimate level Digimon, were then visible to all. Henry and Rika scanned their Digimon as they looked at them. Rapidman, ultimate level Digimon. His speed is nearly unmatched, moving at speeds near the speed of light. His attacks are Tri-Beam, Rapid Fire, and Homing Blast. Henry Reed, Tamers, ultimate level Digimon. She is skilled in the mystic arts and uses a variety of spells and spell tags to take down her enemies. Her attacks are Talisman of Light, Thousand Spells, Talisman Star, and Talisman Spell. Rika read the information about her Digimon. Rapidman smirked as he stood to his feet and then took one step forward, and suddenly he blurred from the speed he moved at before crashing into Padamon. So Henry, what do you think? Pretty fast, right? Rapidman asked. Henry smirked, but could only nod dumbly as his eyes told everyone he was surprised as hell. Padamon growled as she stood up to her full height again and then taking out her crossbow. Bao Gong, she yelled, firing an endless storm of arrow from her treasure bow. Rapidman smirked in the air as he flew in the air. Speeds nearing the speed of light were used as he avoided the onslaught before flying through it and slammed one of his missile launchers against Padamon's face. He then kicked her upwards in the chin, sending her skywards before racing up to meet her there, and then readied his missile launchers. I'm going to have so much fun with you now, Rapidman said with a chuckle. Rapid Fire. 2 large missiles flew from close range at Padamon and blasted into her as she was sent downwards and skidding across the street and into a building. Rapidman then blurred out of existence and reappeared in front of the Ram Diva before kicking her in the face repeatedly. Now, you know how I felt when you kicked me, Rapidman said between each flurry of kicks he made. He then punched Padamon upwards and then appeared above her and performed a roundhouse, sending her careening across the sky. He then appeared behind her and fired a missile at her from his launcher and sent her flying in another direction. Kicks and missiles were then continuously used before Rapidman appeared below the Ram Diva and kicked her skywards before appearing above her. Say goodnight, Rapidman said with a humorous look in his eyes. Padamon's eyes widened as Rapidman's missile launcher on his back began to rotate. Homing Blast. A barrage of missiles shot out and impacted with Padamon, sending her downwards, her form flickering. But there was nothing left, for as she flickered on the ground, Rapidman formed a Y shape with his body. The green light surrounded his body and then rocketed towards Padamon. Tri-Beam. The green laser blast destroyed the Diva as she was disintegrated into red flakes of data. I win, did you that, Henry? Rapidman asked as he landed on the ground by his tamer. I'm really strong now, aren't I? Tamers looked at Vagran, who was looking her over with a snort. How dare you? You look more like a human. Vagran snorted and stamped his hooves. I don't care what you think. Pig, she insulted him. I am an ox, not some stupid pig. Vagran said. That insult obviously struck a nerve. He then spun his bow giant and stabbed them into the ground, kicking up earth before slashing them, and the impact sent the earth towards Tamers. Tamers smirked before taking the large brush that she had on her back and drew a symbol in the air. The symbol was the Devanagari letter for Ra. The symbol spun in the air before racing through the air, slicing the earth to dust, and then headed for Vagran. Vagran quickly built up momentum by spinning his swords and slashed downwards. The symbol was cleaved in half. However, Tamers suddenly was in front of him and she spun and crashed her left heel into the ox's face. Vagran skidded back from the force of the kick, then Tamers made a hand sign before 1,000 spell tags flowed out of her rather large sleeves. The spell tags flew through the air and attached themselves to Vagran, and then Tamers smirked. The Hanyu-looking Digimon formed another hand sign and the spell tags detonated. 1,000 spells, she yelled as the large ox was surrounded by flames and smoke. Tamers then took her brush and drew a large symbol in the air, as she saw Vagran had barely managed to survive the attack, his form flickering in and out of existence as his data became unstable. The Sanskrit Buddhist symbol glowed a golden color before rocketing towards the downed ox Diva before forming like a tattoo on Vagran's chest, since his armor was reduced to splinters that became red flakes of data. The tattoo then turned black before alternating between red and black. The Sanskrit symbol continued to alternate between the two colors, the alternation speeding up as if it were. It's counting down. Everyone move. Naruto yelled. Dorgrimon grabbed Padamon from the wall where she was unconscious before grabbing Naruto and Rika and flying over to Henry and Takato and their Digimon. Growlman had woken up and digivolved when Padamon was destroyed and saw Vagran on the ground with Tamers standing over him a good distance away too. What's going on? The ox is going to go up in smoke, literally, Takato explained. Talisman of Light. Tamers howled before the symbol glowed gold, and then Vagran let out a moo of anger as he glared at Tamers one last time before the light became smoke and flames. The Ox Diva was destroyed, turning into flakes of red data before those disappeared also. Talisman spell. Tamers had formed the spell when Vagran had exploded in order to protect herself. Tamers smirked before floating down onto the ground and then digivolved into Cubum and then back into Renamon. Rapidman digivolved back into Gargomon and then into Terriermon, while Dorgrimon and Growlmon simply went back to their rookie forms of Dorumon and Gilmon. Well, I guess we won another fight, Takato said. Good job you two, Naruto congratulated Terriermon and Renamon. Arigato, Naruto, Renamon said with a smirk. No problem. I can't believe I was such a badass. Are you full of yourself, you asshole, Naruto told the Digimon. Terriermon stuck out his tongue while Gilmon and Calumon looked confused at the use of language. Calumon then walked up to the others and jumped onto Naruto's head. Takatomon ... what's a badass? Oh, that's just another way of saying Takato fumbled for words. It's another way for saying you're cool, Terriermon said. Oh, does that mean I am a badass, Takatomon? Gilmon asked. Yes, no came the various answers from the group. Calumon then looked at the others and voiced his question. Then what's an asshole? Calumon asked. Naruto and the others looked at Calumon atop Naruto's head and sweat dropped. Huh? What's an asshole? You called Terriermon that, Calumon asked again. Yeah, Takatomon, what's that? Takato and Naruto looked at each other as they tried to explain the vulgar word. Rika-chan, a little help please, Naruto pleaded. Rika chuckled before going up to Renamon, who picked her up. The two females smirked. Have fun, they said before Renamon blurred out of existence. Henry. But when they looked they found him already a few miles away, running as fast as he could. The two Tamers sighed. Fuck, they mumbled. What does that word mean? Calumon and Gilmon asked. Takato and Naruto looked at each other while Dorumon and Gatomon were snickering at the sight. Why us? The two Tamers thought. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 7. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KitsuneDragon on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.